I would like to welcome you to the East Lyme Board of Finance public hearing. Today is Monday, April 28th. The time is a little bit after 7. We're trying to get started. So I would like to call this public hearing to order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this point, I would also like to ask for a moment of silence. One of the former East Lyme High School principals passed away just recently. His name was Larry Roberts, and from what I understand, he was well loved by the students and the faculty alike. So with that, if we could have a moment of silence. Thank you. Next on the agenda is comments by our first selectman, Dan Cunningham.
There you go. Okay, well, I guess that works. So, good evening, everyone. I want to welcome the Board of Finance members, Board of Selectmen members, Board of Education members, and the interested students and residents here tonight. We appreciate your attendance and your interest in the budget. I want to thank the Board of Finance for their diligence. I want to thank the chairperson, Denise Hall, for her leadership through this process, the Board of Selectmen for their attention and attendance at many long meetings, budget meetings, the Board of Education, and the Superintendent of Schools, Jeff Newton, who started this process really at the end of August, early fall is when they start their process, and we start a little bit later in November for the town government. And I want to thank our finance director, Kevin Gervais, whose many hours of hard work and concern for the process were critical to our mission and to get us here tonight. Many midnight calls from Kevin where we were working on the budget, and it seemed like he had boundless energy, and he attended all of the concerns of the Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen, and the department heads. You know, I could say this is a tough budget year, but they're all tough budget years. The Board of Finance has had the difficult and crucial responsibility of reconciling the needs of town government, the Board of Education, and the taxpayers as well. All of this is done in the face of diminishing help from the state of Connecticut, evaporating federal grants, and an environment of ever-increasing demands for unfunded mandates on both the Board of Education and town government. It's really become a hostile environment in which we work. Despite these difficult challenges, we continue to strive for improvements in the budget and the process. We want to do things that'll benefit the town in future budget years. Our themes in the past have been focusing on needs over wants, of maintaining what we have, trying not to expand our footprint or our infrastructure beyond what we can reasonably hope to maintain and take care of. And now in this budget season, we've really tried to add a focus of strategic planning, and we've tried to incorporate that into the various aspects of the budget as we move forward. So let me turn now to the presentation, and it will, if you can go through this with me, we'll start with explaining how the budget process itself works. So usually in late November and December, the department heads submit their initial requests to the first selectman's office. We have meetings I meet with Finance Director Kevin Gervais and the department heads. We sit down, and they have their initial, not want to say demands, but their idea of what they need for their budget for a particular year, for the coming year. And we sit down, we go over those needs with them, and we try to figure out where we can eliminate some of the line items, reduce line items, come up with what they can live with, what they feel they can deliver, the services that they are tasked to deliver to the town, and at the same time trying to keep the budget in check. After conversations with the department heads, I come up with my usually reductions to the budget. Occasionally, we increase a line item, but normally it's reducing the budget and trying to distill out those things that maybe aren't absolutely necessary that we can live without. At that point, the first selectman delivers the budget and presents it to the Board of Selectmen. And then at the Board of Selectmen level, we go through the same process, but with the whole board all over again. We'll have department heads come in, they'll explain their portion of the budget to the Board of Selectmen. They'll go through the same process of justifying all the line items, why they need what they need. And then the Board of Selectmen, after hearing from all of the department heads, occasionally there's, some budgets that are so concise that maybe they don't have to appear and we can just rely on what they presented in the budget package to us. But then the Board of Selectmen will deliberate, and then they'll make usually further reductions. Occasionally, again, they'll increase an item. They might disagree with a cut that I've made and reinstate it or change it. But eventually we get to a point where we present that budget to the Board of Finance. Board of Finance gets our budget, and again, they go through that process of they will meet with department heads. Department heads will make a presentation to the Board of Finance in the similar way that they made the presentation to the Board of Selectmen. At the end of the day, at the end of deliberations, the Board of Finance will make their adjustments, again, usually reductions, and then they'll present that as they are tonight after their reductions. We talked, I said briefly that one of the new areas that we're really trying to focus on is strategic planning. And one of those instances is the Capital Improvement Committee. So this year, what we did was we formed a committee, members of the Board of Finance, some members of the Board of Selectmen, Board of Education members, some people, citizens that aren't on any commissions, and we got on a bus and we took a tour of the various facilities throughout the town. And we got to see, what the department heads would say, look, we need a new tractor, or we need a new pickup truck, we need a new a piece of equipment for aerating the ball fields. And we got to see actually what they had. And it's the first time this has been done. It was very, very helpful, because when we got into projecting what we call the capital plan, which is separate from the budget, but what that is, that's a plan of how we're going to spend money over the next 10 years. And projecting that, we were able to relate it back to, oh yeah, this is what they were talking about. They needed this new aerator for the ball field. So yeah, I remember we saw the one that they had and it was falling apart and they couldn't get parts for it anymore. But yeah, this is something we really need to keep in the budget. So it took a lot of time to go through that process, but we did it. We all got on a bus, we rode together, and it was a great experience and gave us insight as to the needs for the various departments in town. So I was very happy to see that we were able to start moving in that direction, and that's something we'll do every year. Again, it's the idea of planning strategically for the future rather than just being reactionary all the time. We're going to see that idea in other places here. Okay, so let's talk about budget initiatives. One of the things we're trying to do this year is to hire a 12th firefighter. So last year we formed the East Lyme Fire Service, and there are 3 shifts of 4 firefighters. That's 12 for a 24-hour day. And so right now we have 11, and to make it work more smoothly, we really need to have that 12 firefighters, so that we have 12 firefighters to cover the three shifts at 4 per shift. So we're hoping we will keep that in the budget, and we'll get that. Strategic planning, the overall plan, looking down the road and looking to the future, we're hoping that we will be able to eventually have 18 firefighters, and that would be 6 firefighters per shift, so 18 per day, and we would have 2 firefighters at each fire station. There's 3 fire stations in town, and ideally we would like to have 2 at each fire station, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And that would give us a very high level of protection in this town. So that's what we're working towards. Another thing to change this year was I had several contracts to renegotiate that hadn't been done and really came due during my term. And so we renegotiated the fire service contract. We also renegotiated the East Lyme Ambulance Fund. We have a separate contract with them. They are now a separate entity. They always have been a separate entity, but now they are completely separate from the town. And so, and why that's important is their mission is to have 4 EMTs on duty 24/7. They have 1 crew on 24 hours a day, and they have another crew that's on for 16 hours a day. But the idea is to have separate EMTs that are able to respond to an EMT call, and then our firefighters are at the station ready to go and fight a fire. They're not tied up riding on an ambulance. They'll be down at L&M Hospital. That doesn't happen anymore. Our firefighters are here. They're in town. They've got their apparatus ready to go, and they're not riding on an ambulance somewhere. That changed this year, and I'm really happy about that. I think it's a huge improvement to the town. It really allows us strategically to move forward. We are requesting a rescue boat in the capital budget, capital plan. This year, you may recall, there were 2 instances where the firefighters had to go out and make a rescue. One was around December 20th. We had a fellow in a sailboat off of Black Point, and it was the middle of the night, and the boat was sinking, and we had, 2 in the morning, they had to go out and make a rescue. Other towns that we had asked help from, they weren't willing to put their boat in the water, and understandably, it was a terrible night. The wind was blowing about 40 miles an hour, and it was very treacherous out there. But they got him off the boat. Coast Guard helped, and they assisted and saved the man's life, along with his cat, as I understand. But we need that capability. And then there was another time last summer, there were some young women, they were swimming in the river, middle of the night, and one got lost, and they had to start a rescue effort, and everybody ended up okay. But again, we're in a coastal town. We need to have a fire rescue boat capability. So that's in our budget for this year. Enhancing services to the community. This year we created a fair rent commission. And that doesn't happen without money. It takes money to run a commission. They have to have a small budget. But we felt it was essential for our community to have the option and the overview of a fair rent commission. And there are people that was very important to them, and it benefited to them. And it's fair-minded. It's fair to landlords and to tenants. We also increased senior bus service. That's essential. You have elderly people that ride that bus to get to medical appointments, to be able to go shopping. Not everybody has access to an automobile or a family member that can drive them or are comfortable or can afford to hire an Uber driver to come and pick you up. So that senior bus service is very important to a large portion of our community, and we've tried to address that and accommodate that. Same thing for the expansion of the youth and family services. That's another layer of protection for residents, people with children that maybe need some counseling services or guidance. It's one more place they can turn. It's another area to receive guidance. And then, of course, we make contributions to nonprofits, small stipends really, but we have some wonderful organizations that provide services that we can't provide. Care and Share, Blue Door, to name a couple, and there's a host of others that do wonderful work for our town, and we try to support them. Cybersecurity and communications infrastructure. You know, last couple weeks ago, I went to a tabletop scenario. It was over at Camp Net, and it had to do with a cybersecurity attack on a municipality. And what it was is, in this scenario, they attacked the sewer system, and they were flooding the town in the middle of winter with sewage that was flooding, and then it started a fire. And there were all these things that, you know, we had to try to deal with in this kind of make-believe scenario. But the point is that municipalities are weak when it comes to cybersecurity. They're an easy target, and they can be a target for malware or ransomware. They can get into our systems and try to disrupt our sewage or water treatment. So it's a very important thing to try to beef up and make it stronger. So again, looking forward, strategically thinking, we're trying to improve the software and the protections that we have in our cybersecurity. And along with that, what kind of goes with that is communications, putting up better towers, a better positioning of communications for our fire service and our police service, so we can make it easier for them to talk to each other and communicate during a real live situation like we had right out here a couple weeks ago, the gas main that ruptured. So that's where communication is absolutely essential, and those are some things we're trying to work on. The other thing is a coastal resiliency fund. Well, what's that? Well, maybe a couple years ago, you remember a wall got washed out at McCook's, and we needed money to fix the wall. Had we had a coastal resiliency fund, it maybe couldn't have paid for the whole thing, but it would have been some place to start to repair the damage. We live in a time of more frequent storms, less reliance perhaps on FEMA with the way things are going. So we have to have our own resources. The other important aspect of that is that when we go to borrow money, we go to bond money out. The bond agencies, the rating agencies, they look at whether or not coastal communities like Niantic or East Lyme have a coastal resiliency fund. And if they don't have it, you're not as good a risk. And so they're not as willing to want to lend you money. If they do lend you money, it's at a higher rate. So very important that we have a coastal resiliency fund. Again, it's some forward thinking, a way to make things better in the future. All right. The budget is higher than any of us would like it to be. What's the reason for that? Well, part of it is increased health insurance costs. That went up 9%. Increased electric costs. I'm sure everyone here that pays an electric bill is not happy about the public benefit charge that they see tacked onto their bill. In our case, I think it was over $1 million. Was it $1 million, Kevin, that extra it cost us this year? Yeah. For that fund. I mean, you know, maybe for you and me, it's $80 or $100 for that extra charge. For the town, that's a lot of money. And I had to pick up the mail today, and there was a stack of bills from Eversource that must have been this tall. I mean, every generator that we have, every device that we have, they have separate bills. So we pay a lot of money for electricity. So that was a big hit that we took. Increased pension contributions. So in the past, or right now, it's $700,000 that we have to contribute to the pension fund. Now, we're very well situated compared to other municipalities because our pension board in the town, we've been very diligent in funding that pension liability year after year after year. The state of Connecticut wasn't so good at doing that. They had a big problem. They're getting it resolved. They had unfunded pensions. Other municipalities are nowhere near where we are. We are in very good shape on our pension. But that's because we've made the sacrifice of contributing as we should every year. This year, it's going up to $1.1 million. And as the actuaries, you know, people are healthier, living longer, actuaries figure out what our potential liability is 15, 10, 20 years down the road. And I'm glad everybody's healthier. That's a wonderful thing. But it increases the liability. And so we are accommodating that. There are other drivers. I don't want to get too technical here, but we have to keep pace with what our pension liability is. Increased software costs. We just talked about cybersecurity. All the software to make things work keeps going up and up and up. You can't buy software anymore. You have to buy a license. Remember the days you could go buy Microsoft and you'd pay a couple $100 and pop it in your computer and you'd be good for a few years? Well, now all you buy is a license agreement. And every year you have to renew that license agreement. Same thing for the town. All the computers that we have, probably every student here has a computer. They all have license agreements. It's a lot of money, and we have to stay on top of it. Let's see. Inflationary pressures, we know about that. We're all subject to that. But we do collaborate with different departments in the town. We try to find ways to combine resources and make it a little more palatable. So let's look at the major budget review. And if you look at the column that says department head, so that $99,150,000, that's at the beginning of the process when the department heads come in to see me and we start talking about the budget. We started off this year at $99,150,000. You can see that I reduced it. Board of Selectmen reduced it further. And then finally it gets to the Board of Finance and we see a resulting $3 million reduction. So as we sit here tonight, that budget is $96,201,396. That's an increase of 5.6% from the previous budget. So that's my overview. I went on a little longer than I had intended, but I wanted to give you as much background as I could. So thank you for your attention. Here's this. You want to go to the next slide?
Next on the agenda is our Board of Education presentation. Our superintendent, Jeff Newton, I'm sure you all know, and Grant is switching over to your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Hall. First, while Mr. Place is switching over presentations, as our first selectman said, our process with the budget starts very early in the fall. It gets out of the gate in that September timeframe, and a lot of work and a lot of effort goes into that. That starts in the classroom. That starts in the schools, building those budgets. I know our teachers, all of our staff members, everybody across the district looks hard at what they need, and that allows us to move forward by bringing budgets together at the school level and then up to ultimately central office where we fine-tune and put the final touches on a proposed budget that goes to the Board of Education. So I want to thank, because many of you are here tonight, so thank you for your work and all of that. We appreciate that each and every year. Also, when it comes up to central office, our team works very diligently to scrutinize every line item. And that's our central office team, all of our principals and administrators, and specifically our finance director, Mariana Stevens. Mariana, thank you for your work and effort. We appreciate that very much. And lastly, I just want to thank the Board of Education, too, for all of their effort. They are in full support of our school district and everything we value as a community for our kids. So if we can go to our first slide, Grant. Thank you. Just quickly, a few accolades. There are so many, you could fit them on multiple slides. But just in the past year, some things that we're very proud of. We had shared this with through some of our presentations. Our district does some amazing things. Our staff bring forward amazing things. composting program here at the high school. Narcissus Green, one of our business teachers, brought that forward, got it off the ground. An amazing job with something of that nature. We have community and peer mentoring programs. The growth that's happened this year has been fantastic. We have a story walk at Flanders School, thanks to the librarian at Flanders and our principal there. ECC state team champions. We have our music pro, U.S. Bands, ELHS national champion in U.S. Bands. East Lyme High School ranked 10th best high school in Connecticut by Money Inc. So kudos for the work that you did there as well. So just a small picture of the great things that are happening across the East Lyme Public Schools. We work very hard to save dollars and share services and mitigate costs. And that's done through a variety of methods. We share utilities with the town. We go out to bid with the town to get a better rate on utilities. We share a mail courier. We share a nursing supervisor with Waterford and sub-nurses. We started that this year. That's gone very well. It's in an effort to utilize resources in a most productive way. Financial software, the Munis program. Mrs. Stevens, Mr. Gervais, they share the financial software between the town and the Board of Education. We've tried to work towards regional course sharing and collaborative efforts as well. Anybody here at the high school knows about our EMT course and the work that's been done there. Old Lyme students and Waterford students come here to do that course, and next year we're looking to send East Lyme students to Waterford for part of their automotive program. Not to mention we work with Furman's Garage through our Pathways program. So there's a lot of great things that are happening as it pertains to some shared services. And I don't know if everybody knew, in Salem, both our food service director, our security director, as well as our director of facilities all cover Salem School. So there's a shared service there as well. They provide those services. We provide those services to Salem. So we continue to look for opportunities like that save us dollars and bring forth joint efforts. So with the budget process, as our first selectman kind of talked about the town's budget process, here in East Lyme, we have here in the district, we have 2 workshops that start off in November and December, which really get us going after putting everything together in that September-October timeframe. I bring forward the proposed budget to the Board of Education. This year, it had gone, just rolling everything over back in November, from an 8.26 down to a 6.99, which was presented to the Board of Education. Board of Education adopted a 6.72% increase, which went to the Board of Selectmen and then the Board of Finance. So that's where what the Board of Ed's adopted budget was. Board of Finance has reduced, as of right now, $1,500,000. $150,000 of that is in insurance savings. So we are grappling with $1,350,000. That reduction brings forth, rather than a proposed $64,057,400 budget, it brings it down to a $62,557,400 school district budget. So rather than a 6.72, you saw on one of Mr. Cunningham's slides, the proposed education budget is 4.22 at the current moment. What does that do to some of our schools and some of our programs and staffing? Impacts. When you go from 6.72 down to 4.22, that's a lot of money. We have an impact on instructional resources, supplies, professional development is going to decrease or could decrease, enrichment opportunities, reduced field trips, program services, assemblies, equipment, classroom athletics, facilities. We've looked across all areas, working with the Board of Education. We asked each school, each department, that includes the athletic department, facilities, for roughly a 20% reduction to help offset some of these potential costs. Software as well. Central office, Mrs. Pausiano, our assistant superintendent, oversees all of our software. So we've had reductions there as well, proposed reductions. So that added up to $128,199, which we talked about with the Board of Education at their most recent meeting. As it pertains to staffing, when big dollars are at play, you have to look where big dollars are, and oftentimes that is in our FTEs, unfortunately. And let me preface, our goal in all of this, at the end of the day, as a superintendent for the district, for me and for our Board of Education, is to save jobs. We might lose positions, but we want to do everything we can to save people's jobs. That's what's most important in the end. Looking at 7.0 FTE reductions at the high school and 3 at the elementary level. Some of that, through attrition. That's not 7 people or 10 people, I would say, between the high school and elementary losing their job. We're working at that number specifically of what positions potentially might be cut versus, again, individuals losing their jobs. And then additionally, 4 paraeducators. The Board of Ed had already reduced 5 paraeducator positions. This is an additional 4, so that would be 9 paraeducator position reductions. An elementary library secretary, and a reduction of 3 of our elementary and 1 high school secretaries going from 12 months down to 10 months. Also a reduction in some sub-coverage dollars as well. Those reductions obviously would result in some higher class sizes as noted on the far right. Cost drivers, it's important for everybody to understand that in any operating budget, any district, in any town, when you roll over the budget to the new year, you have major cost drivers. The 2 big ones are always salaries and benefits. Those are at the top of the list. When you look at our salaries and benefits up there, that equates out to almost or a little over $3 million just rolling over for contractual obligations, and benefits. We always hope that benefits would come in at a lower percent increase. This current year, it came in at a 2%, which was fantastic. As it was noted earlier, Mrs. Hall mentioned that it came in at 9%, or Mr. Cunningham might have mentioned that it came in at 9%. So that's a significant difference. For our district, 1% is $75,000, so you can do the math there. So right out of the gate, $3 million salaries and employee benefits. Then take tuition was another big cost driver for us, special education services, and some tuition dollars there. $557,530 budgeted for next year due to some services we need to provide for students. And then transportation's $366,008. So in our overall budget of whatever it will end up being, between that $60 and $64 million point, roughly $600,000 is, to do the math, is a percentage of an increase. So you can see that all adds up to quite a higher percentage than the 4.22. Lastly, I'll just note that it's important to continue to reiterate that our school districts are based off of fixed costs. 97% of our operating budget is contracts. It's fixed costs. It's salaries, but those are contractually driven, whether it be custodians, secretaries, paraprofessionals, teachers, administrators. Those are all contracts. Transportation as well, that's a contract. So everything is driven by contracts. We have a small sliver of 3.2% where you have some play, and that has been hit already with an additional, as I noted earlier, $128,199. So I'll leave it at that, and I just want to thank everybody again for being out here in support of our school district. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome again. Thank you all for being here. My name is Denise Hall. I chair the Board of Finance. And up at the front of the room here with me is the rest of the Board of Finance. We have Paul Maxfield, John Birmingham, Lauren McNamara, Richard Steele, and Dr. Scott McAllister. So I want to start off with thank you again to all of you for all of your hard work, and also with the folks at the Board of Ed that have helped us, and of course Kevin Gervais, who we spend an awful lot of time with. So you've heard a lot about the process, so This is sort of what were our agenda on what I'm going to speak about this evening. I'll try not to be repetitive if something was already covered by Mr. Newton or Mr. Cunningham. So as you heard, after the Board of Selectmen went through their process, and after the Board of Ed went through their process, it then came to the Board of Finance. We, in turn, held 8 meetings, working with all of the department heads, as well as the Board of Ed, to really go through their budget. At the end of the day, we proposed that the town operation budget increase by $2,196,000, and that the Board of Ed budget increase by $2.5 million. So I point this out because, you know, we keep hearing we're cutting a budget, but we're not. We're increasing both the town budget and the Board of Ed budget. It may just not be as much as everybody would like. After we get through with tonight's meeting, the Board of Finance will adjourn and hold a special meeting where we will then formalize what the final budget will be that will then go to referendum. Well, first it'll go to the town meeting on May 12th, which then will go to the referendum where all who are eligible to vote on the budget can then vote. So I guess the first thing since we have so many students here, it's great to be able to explain a little bit about town government. The Board of Selectmen are more like the policymakers. They're like the board of a corporation. They decide the direction and where the town is going, in the same way that the Board of Ed has responsibility for making those policy decisions for the schools. The Board of Finance, when we get those budgets, it's our job to figure out how are we going to pay for this? Can the town afford this? How is this going to impact our residents and the mill rate? And once we come up with that, then how do we pay for it? Is this something that will be paid for in our current operations budget, or is this something that maybe has a much longer active or life to it? So if something is going to last for 20 years, maybe we pay for that by issuing a 20-year bond. So that's sort of our role, trying to figure out how we're going to pay for it. So the first thing we want to do is make sure that we are presenting a fiscally responsible budget to taxpayers. And by doing that, you know, we're looking not only at families with students in the schools, but we're looking at people who are retired and are on fixed income, and are they going to be able to continue to live here if the taxes become something that's beyond their means. It's our goal to be fiscally responsible because we want to be able to get an increase to our credit rating. We have a pretty good credit rating, but every time we get an increase in that credit rating, that means that our borrowing costs are lower. And so if we can save money over time by having a lower borrowing cost, that really helps the town's budget overall. And so as we view every action that we take, I'm always keeping it in the back of my mind, how are the credit agencies going to view that? And as our first selectman mentioned, establishing that coastal resiliency fund is something that they've really honed in on. The other thing we're working on is establishing what we call an OPEB trust, which is the other post-employment benefits. So what happens when we have a retiree, they have health benefits until they reach Medicare age. And right now we are just paying as we go. But the credit agencies would like us to look at that We have a liability, over $6.5 million liability, that we should be setting money aside for. So by establishing that OPEB trust, that allows the town to invest those funds in the same way that we would invest pension funds, which in essence matches our asset with our liability, as opposed to just being in the town's general fund, and those dollars can only be invested in short-term instruments like CDs or treasury bills. So we look at all these different ways with, we can try to improve our credit. Reducing the amount of debt we have on the books is another important. I look at the fiscal indicators for all the towns in Connecticut, and one of the areas that we stand out in a negative way is by the amount of bonded debt we have on the books. So with Kevin Gervais' guidance, what we are trying to do now is, instead of bonding for so much, which increases our overall cost, we're trying to build up a cash capital account so that we could start paying for things with cash today instead of borrowing, which greatly increases our overall expense of doing something. So historically, we have been bonding paving the roads. And if we could move away from bonding that and just paying as we go with our cash capital, that will reduce the overall cost of paving all of our roads. The other thing that we try to do that the rating agencies like to see is a healthy, undesignated fund balance. Lots of times people refer to this as a rainy day fund. And this is money that is set aside to make sure we're ready to handle something that could be unexpected. You know, whether it was the storm Sandy of years ago or flooding in town, having a very healthy reserve so that we're able to meet those extraordinary events that could come our way. So we have a fund balance policy, and what we are trying to do is make sure we set aside 17% of the general fund in this undesignated fund. So we're also trying to look at ways that we could increase revenue. So the majority of revenue, municipal revenue in the state of Connecticut, comes from property taxes. We look for, are there other ways that we can generate revenue? One of the things is by different things like charges for services. Like our fire marshal could, if he had greater resources, he could conduct all of the annual inspections of all the different buildings in town. But without resources, he can't do that, so we don't have, we're not able to generate additional revenue from that. So that's sort of a balancing act. At some point, you could say it's worth hiring another person just to do inspections, and that person would pay for themselves with the added revenue. We looked at building permits this year. There's been a tremendous amount of building in town. If you looked at what we charge for different building permits, it was much lower than surrounding towns. And so our building department has, put forward increases in that. The other thing that we're doing is very actively managing our investment income. When people pay their taxes twice a year, all that money comes in to the town, and then it gets slowly reduced as we're paying salaries and all that type of thing. So we do have the opportunity to invest those funds on a short term. Sometimes it's overnight, sometimes it's 1 week, 1 month, 3 months. But by looking for the best rates all the time and making sure we can generate additional investment income, that really helps. As we've heard, there's definitely some budget challenges. As I've said, we need to reduce the amount of debt we have outstanding because we have to pay them back with interest. That's one of the line items. There's nothing we can do to change how much we're paying on our debt unless it's to issue less debt. As we mentioned, the pension funding is something that we also have to do. We are in very good shape, as Mr. Cunningham said. Our pension is 93% funded as of 2024. But if we look even beyond next year, it's 1.1. By 2027, we are going to have to put up close to $2 million each year, and it continues to grow. So that is something we need to stay on top of. And one of the ways we even think about that is more and more people are interested in defined contribution programs as opposed to defined benefit. So, years ago, people might have joined the town and stayed here, working here for 45 years, and then retired with a set pension, a defined benefit pension. But as the world changes, lots of times people are moving. They may stay in one job for 4 or 5 years and then move on. And to them, a defined contribution where they're putting money into a 401k type of product is something that's more portable for them. And so they might find that. And for the town, that's helpful because, you don't have that pension that you have to set aside money for. You're really just contributing each year a certain amount. Also, as Mr. Cunningham pointed out, we are underfunded in a lot of different ways. I don't know if any of you saw in the Connecticut Examiner or in the Hartford Courant, I wrote a letter to the editor to talk about our pilot grant that is grossly underfunded. So pilot stands for payment in lieu of taxes. The town of East Lyme has property that is owned by the state of Connecticut. We have York Correctional Center, we have Camp Net, we have Rocky Neck State Park. Those are all different state-owned properties. If those were properties held by, private individuals, businesses, corporations, or whatever, our assessor looked at that and said, boy, we would be collecting, almost 3.8 million in taxes on those properties. So the pilot grant from the state of Connecticut is supposed to reimburse us for that lost revenue. Instead, we get from the state $700,000. If we got that grant fully funded, we'd be looking at a mill rate increase of 1.7 as opposed to what we're looking at today. So those are the things that we're trying to advocate for. I'm sure Mr. Newton could talk about the ECS grants that are underfunded, the excess cost that's underfunded. So those are things that we have to keep pushing our legislatures to try to fully fund those so that we can reduce property taxes. Connecticut has the 3rd highest property taxes in the country. We need to address that. Our other, we've had quite a few legal fees this year. Those were unexpected. Hopefully, with any luck, we will be getting back to our normal amount of legal fees that we pay each year. So, talking about our fiscal health, our fund balance, as we talked about before, where we're striving for that 17%. As of June 30th, 2024, we had a 21% fund balance, but we are expecting that that's going to drop down to 18.9 this year, and next year as we roll forward, unless things play out differently, we're already going to be dropping below where our target is. So I hate to see that. I really want to maintain that 17%. So this year, our bonding request is going to be $6.5 million. We have outstanding notes, which are debt that's either 10-year maturity or less, is over $19 million, and our bonds are over almost $57 million. So total debt that the town owns is $82.5 million, and that is not including what the water and sewer. They have over $10 million, and they've got some projects coming up that are going to require even more debt. So, and it's that debt that really is how we end up paying for our aging infrastructure. So we, again, Dan talked about the CIP committee. I really was very, very encouraged with the way that committee worked out. We, we met together, we cooperated with each other, we looked at ways that the town and the board, whether it's something as simple as where's everybody parking all of their trucks and equipment, and is there a way to, instead of saying the board will park their trucks here and the town will park their trucks there, what is the most logical place for those trucks to be, and let's reorganize things like that. So all different ways to try to be more efficient with everything. So I think that will be a committee that continues and hopefully plays out again over the years. One of the things that was originally on the CIP was for a whole new building project at the senior center. So the senior center, the library, the youth center over there all kind of came together with their wish list of things, and they were looking at a project of close to $19 million. So when you see the one-year CIP later, you'll see a reduction of almost $19 million. The committee decided that that should be something that goes to a town referendum on its own, that it shouldn't just be the board saying, okay, let's spend $19 million. As we worked through that process, Dan also spoke with our legislators to see if there was any potential opportunity to have it state funded. So we are, pursuing that, and we'll see that in the 2 or 3 year CIP that will show that we are very serious about doing this, especially if we can get then state funding. So, in past years, we haven't really delved into our whole thought process when we determined what the increase to the Board of Ed budget should be. But clearly, it was something that got a lot of attention from people, as evidenced by the people here tonight. So we thought it would be helpful to kind of go through what we were thinking about. So again, of that, we had the $150,000 in savings, so it was technically $1,350,000 of the overall increase that they were looking for. So right now, the Board of Ed in this budget has a $2.5 million increase. So we on the Board of Finance cannot tell the Board of Ed how to spend their money. That is completely in their purview. All we do is go through the budget and try to, look at ways to say, is there something more that they can be saving? So as part of that meeting with the Board of Ed and going through their budget, we asked a lot of questions. We asked questions in that meeting. We had follow-up questions that we emailed to the superintendent and Eric Bauman, the Board of Ed chair. we went through a lot of stuff, and they answered. So we looked at class sizes at the high school, and based upon the information that was given to us, as you can see, English, a little over 14 students on average, math, science, and social studies, around 15 students, world language, almost 14 students, and AP classes with 10 students. And we looked at information from other towns. And generally speaking, the surrounding towns in these classes have class sizes between 20 and 22 students. So, with that, we were saying, wow, these class sizes are really small. And those are kind of reflective of what you might see in a private school. So I think that that was one of the reasons we thought if class sizes were similar to what they are in surrounding towns, then there could be a savings there. The other thing we asked for was information about how the student population has changed over the years and how has our staff changed over the years. So in the high school, it's dropped by 135 students over the past 5 years, while staffing has increased by 1. We said if there had been a proportionate decrease in staff compared to the decrease in students, you would have expected that there would be potentially 14 fewer staff members at the high school. So we see other students or other school districts more actively manage that student to staff ratio. I think East Lyme has, as Jeff pointed out, the most important thing has been don't let anyone lose their job, but at some point we have to make sure that we're being fiscally responsible and as it affects the whole town. The other thing that we noticed was that there were 15 teacher coach positions that were added during the COVID years. Those positions were paid for by COVID money, the different grants. And throughout the process, we were, constantly reinforcing the idea that when the grant goes away, then that position should go away too. We can't just keep all of these positions that no longer have the funding. That being said, if these were really successful programs, it's completely in the Board of Ed's purview to say, no, this is really working, this is really helping our students. In that case, I'd say, sure, go, but what are you doing to offset that expense? It just can't keep growing and growing without that grant money. So 7 of those positions are still on staff, so everything didn't go away. We would hope that they would find some other way to pay for if those things if that particular program is very successful. I think as we went line item through line item, we also noticed that there were things that I think the professional development budget went up by a very large percentage, and part of that was explained by there had been things that were paid for with grant money that's no longer paid for with the grants. The grants are gone from the federal government. So those are the things that we really looked at. And again, we just do a lot of research. I looked and saw there's a school in Madison. Their high school is called Daniel Hand High School. And this shows that their enrollment has dropped pretty much each year. But as their enrollment has dropped, they've also had a drop in the full-time equivalents. So they're very actively managing that ratio. And that's what we see in other districts. So We also asked, are there any metrics that show how well our students are performing here in East Lyme? And so this is a graph that shows there's a thing called an accountability index, which is created by the state of Connecticut Department of Education, and it measures a whole lot of things, test scores, but 6 or 7 other factors I can go into later. But what this shows is what are the outcomes and what are the per pupil expenditures. So if you can see this, East Lyme is in the quadrant that has high outcomes, but it also has high cost. So then I look, so, excuse me, if you could please keep it down. So another thing that we looked at was, where would we be if we could come closer, say, to a town like Rocky Hill? So Rocky Hill, as you can see, has a very similar outcome, so a high outcome, but they're able to achieve that at roughly $20,000 per student versus our $23,245 per student. So at the high school, we have approximately 890 students. This, if we just looked at if we were able to drop that cost per student by $2,000, you'd be saving $2.5 million right there. So, these are some of the things that we looked at to say there's got to be another way. There's got to be a different way to find these savings, reduce the student cost, but still achieve those high outcomes. As some people have pointed out, and I agree completely, having a great school system impacts all of our home values. And I think that that's very much something that the Board of Finance understands. But I think what that previous chart showed us was that it doesn't always mean that more money spent means a better outcome. Frankly, one of the things that I think makes the huge difference in East Lyme is we've got families that are so invested in making sure that their children are getting great education here. And they're involved in their students, and I absolutely want to applaud all of you for being here tonight. This really is evidence that you take this seriously and you want to advocate for your children. And I concur that that's wonderful, and I think that's one of the reasons why East Lyme schools are so successful. Unfortunately, we have the really tough job of also looking out for the rest of the constituents in East Lyme, and that's what we are trying to do, and find a place where, we're not going to make everybody happy, that's for sure, but if everyone's just a little upset, maybe that's where we need to be. One of the questions we had asked of the Board of Ed was, if everything just rolls over, where would we be next year? And that budget would be even bigger. And having those, 6-7% increases every year is just not sustainable for the town. So maybe we need to think about different things, different ways of doing things. And maybe it's something a little drastic this year if it means a few staff members, but maybe as you're thinking about what happens next year, then, that, we'll have to look at that. So, and, I know that's very difficult to hear, and I'm sorry, nobody likes to do that. We certainly don't want to say that either. But again, it's not up to the Board of Finance to determine how the Board of Ed does this. We're not the ones saying, oh, you need to cut this position or that position. This is, the responsibility of the Board of Ed. It's our responsibility to try to say, what can the town afford in the way of the increases. So, a $2.5 million increase to the budget is, up to the Board of Ed to decide how to do that. I know it's difficult to hear. I've been laid off at work before. I think anybody who's been in the public sector, the private sector, knows that, that's something that happens in life. And anyhow, could we have quiet, please? So this is our proposed revenues for the year. As you can see, the majority of it will come from taxes. The other is licenses, charges for service, investment earnings. So that is our total revenue budget, a 6.19% increase. Here's our proposed expenditures for the year. General government, public safety, public works, as you can see, that all adds up to a 6.19% increase in expenditures. The impact on the mill rate would be 1.55 mils increase, or a 5.88% increase in taxes. We also try to provide a look at what would that do based upon the value of your property. The assessed property is 70% of the value of the property. So depending upon the value, if it's I think the typical East Lyme property may be between the 350, 400,000. So that will be, $400 increase a year. As you go up to, more likely a commercial property, could see those increases. And I'm going to just move through this because that's a little bit repetitive from what Dan said, but we did go through all of those different sites, and I think it was a very valuable process that we will continue. And so for the current year capital project summary, these are the different areas that will have things that are in the one-year CIP. So that could be everything from the different vehicles to public works equipment, things like that. So we're looking at a little over $7.5 million in the one-year CIP. We have to put out a 10-year CIP per state regulations, and so this is what we're looking for. So a total of $109 million that's in our 10-year CIP for all the different projects that were identified during this process. So everything that we've walked through tonight is on our town website under the Board of Finance. You can see all of these numbers. You can, honestly, all of our meetings are also recorded and the videos are online. I have to say that we did not, I don't think we had more than 2 people attend any of our Board of Finance meetings going through the budget. You know, I welcome people. I don't know whether you're all just watching them from home, but your input is important. And, you know, we're there. We have monthly meetings. Anyone is welcome to come to speak to anything that comes under the purview of the Board of Finance or anything that's on our agenda. So we welcome people to come to the meeting. And, you know, again, I thank everyone for being here tonight. What we're going to do next is open it up for public comments. So we'll start off with I think they're up on the table in back. So we're going to grab the sign-up sheets. We are going to start with the people that are eligible to vote on the budget. I think it's very important that we all hear their comments, and then as time permits, we will go on to the list that of the students that are not eligible to vote. So there are 2 microphones up here. When I call your name, if you'd like to come up, state your name, your address, and if you could keep the comments to 2 minutes, that would be very helpful as we, as I said, we will adjourn from this to go ahead and have our meeting. So first on the list is Lucy Schumann.
Thank you for your service. I came to town in 1981 as the assistant principal, hired as the assistant at this high school, when the numbers were twice as what they were, when the classroom sizes were what we were talking about in other towns. The good news is we have lower classroom sizes. We still have a great faculty and staff. But I will say this. According to Forbes magazine, Connecticut has one of the greatest income disparities of all of the 50 states. Big income differences between the haves and the have-nots. In our very own town, if you talk to Karen Sherry, you look at their data, 3 years ago they gave away 43,000 pounds of food. Then it was 47. Now they're tracking to go over 50. In this town, thousands of pounds of food to people who actually need it. So I'm just asking for the Board of Finance to look at data. I'm a big data person. When I looked at the presentation, just at the Board of Ed, for instance, I just did arithmetic, and I looked at high school and elementary reductions, a total of 10 people, add those salaries up, and it would imply that each of those people are making 90,000 plus. I know that's not true. You're not going to lay off the top of the scale. You're going to lay off the bottom of the scale if you have to lay off. That just makes no sense to me. For me, I'm passionate about the schools. I gave my whole entire career to this school system. I'm still passionate about it. I love living in this town. I love seeing the people and talking to the people. We get good value for our dollar, but we need accurate data so people like you can make real decisions
If you
based
could
on
wrap it up, please.
information. Thank you.
Lucy, thank you very much for your comments. Just to be clear, that includes benefits. Just so you know, that's why it's a higher number. A family benefit's 30,000. So, I couldn't hear what you said. I'm sorry. There's both. Yes. But some don't, some do. That's what, not everybody has benefits. Some are family, some are individual, some are, so just, that's what the numbers are.
Thank you. Next is Jackie Mazzella.
It's me. Hi, Jackie Manzella. I work at East Lyme Middle School. I live at 11 Spring Street in Niantic. And I wanted to come up this evening to just share some good news. And thank you for all that you do. I appreciate, this is not an easy thing for you. But I recently was on the 5 at 5 on the East Lyme Middle School twice as the writing advisor for one of the clubs after school. Once was because of our newsletter that 5th and 6th graders wrote that encompassed all the things that they do at our school. And just this week I was back on again, and one of my 5th graders in my writing club won a first place in a writing competition through Book Creators. This wouldn't have happened if we don't have a collaboration between what happens in the classroom with this particular student had Miss Danis, who's a 5th grade language arts teacher, and after-school clubs. I noticed that the after-school clubs are one of the things that are being considered in the middle school to be cut. This upsets me because these are the places where students who have less connections to school might find a place where they belong. For my case, it's the writers. There's also the students who are in the science club and the math club who go on big competitions. There are kids who are in Minecraft who don't identify with others in the school, and these are things that we really shouldn't be giving up. And what I noticed also, which kind of upset me, was that the athletics were still there. Now, as a language arts teacher, there's a little bias there, obviously, but I also know that the athletics cost a lot of money. There's the athletic director and all, his secretary and the assistant athletic director in the middle school, the coaches, the custodians, the security. There's a lot of things, the buses that go into that. And to be on those teams, there are tryouts, and there are haves and have-nots. It's not really fair, is where I'm going at. She's moving me on over here. And I would really just like for you to consider supporting the academic after schools. If you can't do that, then it really should be all or nothing, because we need the money in the classrooms most. So please, the bias between the different after-school clubs is what bothers me, so thank you.
So next is Pat Hesney.
Good evening. My name is Pat Hesney, and I'm president of the Board of Ed Secretarial Union. Thank you for listening to us tonight. I'm just here to talk about the budget reductions and resulting in the elimination and reduction of staff positions and the impact it will have on the students. All staff reductions with teachers, paraprofessionals, the elementary library aide, and the reduction of 12-month secretaries to 10 months are harmful to the students of East Lyme. Class sizes and student supports matters to student learning. One of the positions to be eliminated is the elementary library position. The library assistants do more than just shelve books. If the position of the library assistant was cut from the budget, elementary librarians would not be able to prepare and implement the curriculum for the students in the way it is intended to be done. There are numerous tasks that the library assistant does. She mends books, saving money to the district, retrieves books from missing students, saving money in the budget. Additional positions to be reduced are 3 12-month administrative assistants to 10 months. There'll be no one in the schools in the summertime and 2 of the elementary schools, and there's a reduction in the high school. Parents come in the summertime, they have students new to the district coming in. These students are anxious, they need support, they need tours of the school, they need to know where they're going. Teachers' supplies are ordered in the summer, there'll be no one there to receive them. Staff won't have their supplies at the start of the school year. Summer school is in the schools and elementary schools. And Parks and Rec are there, there'll be no staff in the front office to assist them. I could go on and with these duties, but we only have a minute, so I'll
I'm
end
sorry,
there.
Pat, did you, I didn't get your address, it's not on here?
I'm president of the Secretarial Union. You don't live in East Lyme?
Oh.
Superintendent Newton has been very prudent steward of the Board of Ed budget, and we're asking that you support the superintendent, the Board of Ed, the students, the families, and the staff by reinstating funds to the proposed budget. It takes a village to raise students, and they deserve to be raised by their village. Thank you for your time.
Next is Elizabeth Dowd.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Dowd. I live at 66 East Patagonia in Niantic. Thank you to the Board of Finance for all of the effort you put into this. I am one of those 2 people who you said came to some of the meetings. I've also been to a couple of Board of Ed meetings recently, and I can assure you I will be coming to more Board of Finance meetings and more Board of Ed meetings, because clearly there are a lot of issues that a lot of people are working very hard on. Among the people working very hard on the Board of Ed budget are the Board of Ed and Jeff Newton and the department heads and the principals and the teachers, and they have been working on this all year long. They have formed a reasonable budget based on their constraints. They have so many constraints, Jeff pointed them out, between the healthcare costs that the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen, you know about these, the transportation costs going up. There are so many things that are out of their control, but there's a lot that's in their control, and I think they've done their darndest to put forth a reasonable budget given the circumstances. And I implore the Board of Finance, on behalf of our children who are going to lose out on programs and needed services that remain from COVID, and classes that they need, STEM classes, after-school clubs, library services, so much that matters to our children, that helps decrease the disparities that income inequality causes. The schools are a way to make that equal again. And I urge the Board of Finance to restore the $1.5 million to the budget and let the voters decide. Thank you.
Next is Amy Porter. So is Amy here still? Oh.
Good evening, Amy Ferrier, 91 Holmes Road. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm here as both a parent in the district and an educator in a neighboring community. I not only understand the numbers on a budget sheet, but the real impact these numbers have. I just was here to share my views on the magnitude of what this cuts do to children. In regards to the proposed reduction to the school-level supports, these are not extras. They are foundational elements of a safe, engaging, and effective learning community. But as we're almost all here is the loss of positions, 7 at the high school, 3 at the elementary school, including a second grade teacher at Flanders, 4 paraeducators, 2 flexible substitute roles, 1 library secretary, and 3 additional secretary positions. In regards to the second grade cut at Flanders, we are looking at class sizes ranging between 20 and 22 children. I don't know if you've been in an elementary school classroom, but that's a lot of little faces staring at you, needing your attention. The students' needs aren't getting less, they're getting greater. These cuts also include extracurricular opportunities. These are the areas where kids shine, those kids that aren't into athletics, these kids that are not scholars. These are the time that these create leaders and these kids shine. Without that, many of those kids will not get those opportunities. I want to be clear that the Board of Education, the school administration, and the teachers are united in this opposition to these cuts. That kind of alignment is powerful and rare. It reflects the seriousness of what is at stake. This is not a disagreement over priorities, it's a shared concern over the damage that these reductions will do. Thank you.
So I get that everybody wants to applaud, but I would ask that maybe we could hold it to the end, because all it's doing is going to decrease the amount of time we have to listen to people. So I just want to be able to keep things moving along. So next is, so they, 250 Upper Patagonia Road, it looks like a Trillo.
My name is Genevieve Pasuto. I live at 250 Upper Patagonia Road. I am the Vice President of the Secretarial Union. I am requesting that you reconsider the reductions to the Board of Education budget. These reductions will reduce staff, harm student learning, and decrease staff morale. In my union alone, the elementary library aide position would be eliminated, along with 3 12-month administrative assistant positions being reduced to 10 months. This would leave 2 elementary schools completely empty in the summer. These reductions will impact student and parent access. Students will not have supplies at the start of school. Librarians will be shelving books instead of teaching students. There will be no one to answer questions, no one to do paperwork for the upcoming school year. These are just a couple of the examples of the duties that will be unmanaged. Please consider reinstating the Board of Education budget. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Rita Savannah Dan on Mallard Circle. Sorry if I butchered that.
Hi, I'm Geeta Sivanandam. I live at 4 Mallard Circle, and I'm here. I'm going to speak for myself because I am the library secretary who is going to lose the position, and also I'm going to speak for, as a mother, deeply concerned for all of our children. The library is so much more than a place to check out books. It is a safe haven for so many kids. It is a place where students, especially those who are struggling, find a sense of calm and belonging. There have been countless days where a student was upset, overwhelmed, and even ready to give up and came to into the library. because I know those students and I took the time to rebuild the relationship with them. I was able to step in, I listened to them, I calmed them down, and I helped them to find their footing again so they can return to the class to continue their learning. Without that support, many students would have lost valuable learning time, and in some case, their day would be unraveled. But the emotional support is just one part of what I do. Every day, I assist students and staff members in finding the materials they need, whether it's a book for a research project, a resource to spark a reluctant reader's interest, or simply a quiet place to work. I catalog new books to keep our library current and organized. I spend hours repairing the damaged books. Just in one school that I work, I have modified and repaired over 900 books just in this academic year, breathing new life into them, giving new life to the books so that our district doesn't have to spend precious funds replacing them. Every tape, every spine repair, every label saves our school money that they can use somewhere else. Without a library secretary, these small but critical tasks, helping students, supporting teachers, maintaining and preserving resources, will fall through the cracks. And it doesn't stop with the library. We are talking about losing 10 teachers, 4 paraeducators, and the vital middle school clubs, and the secretaries. The clubs especially, the very place where kids find their voices, their passions, their confidence. We are talking about cutting supplies, instruction materials, and support systems that make real learning possible. Middle school especially is a critical time because I have a kid there. That's a place emotionally, socially, and academically they are struggling. Clubs are not just nice to have. They are often where kids who feel lost find a reason to stay engaged. As a parent, I worry deeply about what kind of environment we are creating if we move forward with these cuts.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for the
Kyle Doughton on 5 Rockwell Street. Kyle Doughton, 5 Rockwell Street. Sure. After that, Ryan and Emily Schrader, then Lynn Sullivan, then Timothy Dowd. Go ahead.
Kyle Doughton, 5 Rockwell Street. I'm also a business owner in town. I've spoken at a bunch of these different meetings before. I've attended your Board of Board of Finance meetings. And I think that there's some fundamental problems with the way that this whole process is happening in town, the way it's worked, because I just watched that presentation where you talk about synergy and getting everyone together, and that is not the case. The Board of Education is considered as its own entity, it's kept on its own, and it is not in the same as with the rest of the town. The licenses, all the different things that you can share, years ago, I'm going back at about 5 years ago, we took all the fields that the Board of Education has, and those came off of the Parks and Rec budget and went on to the Board of Education budget. We've also done things like change the snow plowing. Now the Board of Education owns a mason dump, several tractors, pickup trucks, and all the things that they have to maintain. They also do all their own fertilizing on their fields, and that fertilizing could be done by Parks and Rec with the license that they have instead of having to outsource it. So as much as you're talking about synergy, the Board of Education sits on its own. You talked about Rocky Hill and the methodology on how you came to the budget decrease, which you say is an increase, but proportionately for a budget that's 70% of the town's value, the increase is less than the other portion of the town. So it's not really an increase. Rocky Hill and the towns that were in that lower quadrant are very likely getting outside funding from government grants and things because of the population that is in those towns. If you looked at the other towns that were in our quadrant, they're all similar in demographics to us. I also have done some quick mathematics, and I spoke at numerous meetings about the influence of the affordable housing that's come into town, to the point that now the town of East Lyme has applied for a moratorium on affordable housing.
If you could wrap it up, please.
I will. Harvest Glen is 25 homes in the upper section and brings in $275,000 in revenue, just doing some basic math. North Bridebrook apartments are 38 units and only bring in $167,000. Rocky Neck, the new development that's affordable housing, is 52 units and only brings in $130,000 in revenue. So if you're looking at the grand list all the time, you want to make a town where all the houses want to be a Harvest Glen if you can raise your income.
Yeah, Ryan Schrader, 15 Applewood Common. So I have 4 children in our schools. I'm also president of the new East Lyme Education Foundation, which is launching our first classroom projects this fall. I'm also a former Board of Education member, so I support our schools, and I've put in the work to back it up. As a former BOE member, I've seen firsthand how carefully the district manages every dollar. Superintendent Newton does not pad his budget. There's no extra in there to absorb cuts. Every reduction means a real loss of services to our students. This year, the Board of Ed requested a 6.99% increase, a lean budget reflecting what's truly needed. The town, by comparison, requested a 12% increase, adding a whole list of extra services. This committee cut $375,000 from the town budget while slashing $1.5 million from our schools, resulting in cuts to services. So the schools are funding extra services on the town's behalf. Denise, I know you said that this isn't a cut, it's a reduction in the increase. I feel that's disingenuous. It's true in financial terms, but it's truly a cut to services. I hear a lot, this board express a lot of statistics about a focus on long-term planning and strategic planning, but on the BOE side, it feels very short-term. I feel that a bunch of those graphs are sort of cherry-picked. You compared individual classes versus averages of other towns. You mentioned class size compared to other towns, yet on the accountability graph, those towns didn't appear. This board is not composed of educators. Your analysis doesn't seem credible, and I don't think you fully understand the impact. A budget is a statement of values, and what message are we sending our children in their community tonight? I'm not questioning the town's need for additional improvements, but I just don't think this budget is consistent. We're favoring the town at the expense of our schools, and I believe these cuts are irresponsible and will be devastating to our schools. And East Lyme, we've always invested in our schools. Families move here because of them, and our schools drive property values, our local economy. If we shortchange our schools, we shortchange every family, business, homeowner in East Lyme, and our schools undermines our community.
Okay.
So I urge you to reconsider these cuts, as you did in 2019, which I believe was the last time you got a response like this, and restore the funding to our schools that our schools need and our town deserves, and let the voters decide at referendum.
Thank you. And just to respond, the information from those graphics were provided to us by the superintendent. So, and they were our DRG, District Reference Group, in the matrix. So it wasn't me cherry picking, we requested information.
Not all the information was there. So
Yeah.
What was presented was not all the information.
Right.
Thank you.
So, I mean,
Thank you for clarifying.
we can email that to everybody.
Hi, my name is Emily Schrader, 15 Applewood Common. I am the president of the Lily B. Haynes PTA, and I have 4 children in this school system. My oldest has been in the East Lyme schools for 9 years, and my youngest will graduate in 13 years, so I am deeply invested in the future of our schools and town. Let me be clear, thriving schools are the heartbeat of a vibrant community. Great schools protect property values and ensure a strong future for East Lyme. To the Board of Finance, I recognize that budget season is never easy, but you were elected by the people of East Lyme to do what is best for East Lyme, and we are here today to tell you that cutting the Board of Education's proposed budget by $1.5 million is not fiscal responsibility. It is fiscal short-sightedness. I'll say that one more time. It's not fiscal responsibility, it's fiscal short-sightedness. Let's be clear, the town's budget is poised to grow over 10%, while drastic cuts are being made to the Board of Education's budget. The town will get new equipment and enhanced services, while our children face larger class sizes and lost opportunities. And let's not pretend our administration is playing games. These devastating cuts are the best of all bad options, and every one of them will be felt by East Lyme families. And as far as the legal fees go, our children should not be paying for the mistakes of the misbehaving adults in this town. Board of Finance, this is your chance to do right by East Lyme, restore the education budget, and let the voters decide at referendum. Thank you.
Hi, Tim Dowd, 66 East Patagonia, also a science teacher here at the high school, also one of the 2 who came and watched your meetings, so thank you. I know you've worked hard on this. I've watched this whole process, and I know we're just in a really tough situation as a town budget-wise. We know who's at fault for this. It's spiraling inflation, it's unfunded mandates, and it wasn't wrong for you guys to ask the Board of Ed to find out what $1.5 million in cuts would do, but they found out. They went to department chairs, they went to principals, and it's pretty devastating. In terms of what I know as a science teacher, we're talking about losing flagship classes that could be like biotech or marine biology too. These kids plan their whole high school career to take classes like that. They're the things that really give East Lyme kids a heads up. I'm also concerned about what staffing is going to be like in the future in these buildings. I agree with Selectman Cunningham that we need to have a plan for the future, but this is the second time in 3 years we've been facing major pink slips. Why would people come work in this district? Like, we're kind of lying to teachers when we hire them that they have a future here, and that's something we really have to be careful with. So, you know, it just doesn't make sense to me at a time when student mental health needs are on the rise. Cutting paraprofessionals, we need every one of those we could have. Increasing counselor ratios, like a counselor is supposed to help kids get into college and stuff, but if a kid is falling apart, they spend their whole afternoon on that kid. They call DCF, they call the state, they try to find resources. We need these people in our buildings. And if we're going to have to turn around and rehire people 3 years from now, who are we going to get when we sent these people away? Finally, as far as that graph of our DIRG goes, I'm proud of that. That had us winning. We are doing a good job as a district. And to hear, as a parent of 2 young children, to hear that, oh, we've got to just take an axe and cut some of this stuff, we're not going to end up as Rocky Hill, we're going to end up as New Milford. I want my kids to have what these kids have had. These kids have had good opportunities and they're good kids. My kids deserve that too. Thank you.
So I'm just going to read a few more names coming up. So it's, I believe that's Sarah.
I'm Lynn.
Yeah.
Lynn Sullivan.
Okay, sorry, Lynn Sullivan, then Sarah Nazaro, Shannon Smalls, 17 Harvest Glen, Kara Coven Gabbard, Jessica Newman after that. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Lynn Sullivan. I live at 85 East Patagonia Road. East Lyme teachers have been asked to cut costs year after year, and we have made many sacrifices. Now we are being told to cut $1.5 million. This loss of personnel will cut us down to the bone. When I started at Niantic Center School, I was a half-time special education teacher with a full-time caseload of students. I did this for 2 years, and I did this because I care about kids. Now, as a classroom teacher, I save East Lyme Public Schools money by doing things like cutting all of my erasers into 3 parts, making 2-sided copies, and using the pencils with the teeth marks in them. Teachers and students can make do with a surprisingly small amount of material things. But what's the cost when humans are the target of reduction? Several East Lyme Public School employees are currently less than full-time as a money-saving measure. Within the last few years, we have lost many excellent people because of this. One person we just lost was an expert in servicing our most complex students with IEPs, and they had to leave for a full-time job in a different district. So we let go of an expert for money. In short, decisions which are made for monetary reasons in education do not amount to monetary results. Monetary decisions in education result in human tolls, tolls which are taken from our most vulnerable and youngest humans. If not children, what should we devote our care to? I can tell you right now that teachers are not in this business of education because we wish to become rich. We are in education because we care deeply about children and we want to make a difference in their lives. By cutting the funding for East Lyme Public Schools, we are saying as a community that we do not care about children and we are not willing to invest in our future. I understand that the Board of Finance is in a difficult position. It's your job to balance the books. But I implore you to think about the little faces of 4-year-olds who will be affected by monetary decisions in the form of less support. Please make the decisions you know that are right in your heart and continue to give the children the support they need to thrive.
Thank you. All right. I'm Shannon Small. I live at 17 Harvest Glen. I am a surgeon at Lawrence and Memorial, and we just moved here in December. My husband and I brought our 2 young children, we have a 5- and 6-year-old, from Long Island to Connecticut because of education and the concern we had for raising our children in the current climate. We chose East Lyme, and we did our homework because of these schools. I'm going to repeat that. It was not facilities, it was not, how pretty the town was. It was because of the school system and the fact that we felt we could rely on the district to provide a good public education for our children. 2 of my partners live in East Lyme. We are here because of what we were told we would get from this district. My 6-year-old loves library day. He loves coming home, and he has plenty of books. We are fortunate. He has plenty of books at home. He doesn't want those books. He wants the library books because of the conversations he has, because his friends love going to the library. If you want future doctors, it starts in the elementary school. It starts with STEM classes. It starts with instilling in them a love for science and reading and math. And I cannot stress enough, because we're dealing with this on a national level, how important this is to our kids. This is so short-sighted. I'm sorry. I know I'm new to this district, but my husband and I care very deeply, and we plan on being here. We bought the house in Harvest Glen because we plan on raising our kids and seeing them graduate from this high school. So I would just beg you to reconsider. It's critically important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sarah Nazaro, 15 Mayfield Terrace. First, certainly thank you for all of your work and care. It's an incredible job, so thank you. I speak to you today as an alum back in 2000, what's up, a teacher at ELHS, and a mother of 2, that one of them is 13 and 3. My parents, my mom's here in the back, chose to move here in 1990. I was privileged that they made this decision, and they moved here for the school system, not for the beach, not for anything else, but for the schools. And I've had all the privilege in the world every goal I set my mind to, I achieved, right? Everything I have ever wanted, and I truly, certainly my parents, but it is because the teachers that I had in this system, all of them. And the schools are the reason that I now own a house here. My mother is still living and paying taxes here in this town all these years later. She runs a daycare in town, so talk about from the very smallest, right? My brother and I both teach at East Lyme High School. We traveled the world. We lived in many places, but we returned here because we have children and we want them to be here. First Selectman Cunningham mentioned the significant, serious challenges of our time, and they are significant. And I respect the budgetary outline that's laid out tonight, but our greatest need in this very strange time is investment in young minds. It has to be that. We have to spend our money here, and this happens with excellent teachers. What's up? It happens with excellent teachers and small class sizes. We don't need post-it notes or paper, but we need teachers, right? What those slides don't show are the very high needs of our students right now. The mental health needs are significant. The needs of our gifted and talented students are significant, and we are absolutely still managing post-COVID ramifications. Please know that those class sizes are totally misleading. Many teachers at the high school, many, are managing large class sizes. I'm talking 12 ACCP has an average of 19, AP Lit has an average of 22. Of course we have small class sizes to manage our neediest students. Of course we do, and I think those are super important. I teach a class with 10 students in it, and I need 5 of me to be in that room, truly. So we need those small and large classes.
If you could wrap
right
it
now.
up, please.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
The point is, it may be very easy to look at the impressive East Lyme High School reading scores, the graduates we turn out, but that does not happen without all the small moments that no one sees. It's Pam Novak, 20-something years ago, working one-on-one with me. It's Emily Archer right now. She left the high school. She left for a small amount of time. She was out, and her students suffered. Her students needed her. She runs a club. I'll wrap it up, yes. There's so many teachers, right? But really, these teachers here will probably rise and meet all the same goals, but it will be at the cost of our mental health. It will be at the cost of us and our lives. So I ask that you please consider less cuts. As a voter and a taxpayer, I am willing to pay more if it means we are raising healthy, curious little humans and supporting amazing teachers' mental health. Thank you. Thank you.
Kara? My name is Jessica Newman, 21 Sapia Drive in Niantic. I am here today as the proud mother of a Niantic Center School second grader with autism. I stand before you to bring light to the critical need education services in our district, services that our children rely on to thrive in their educational journey. These are also services that are at risk with this proposed budget cut. As we gather here today to discuss the budget for upcoming school year, I must urge you to consider the urgent needs of our students in our community. Many of our children, like my son, rely on essential services, our certified teaching staff, our paraeducators, and many other staff members that help them develop crucial skills for communication, social interactions, and daily living. Unfortunately, access to these services is becoming increasingly challenging. Currently, we face a waitlist catastrophe just outside our school system. Many families, including mine, have found themselves on long wait lists for vital therapies like speech, OT, and more. For instance, my own daughter, who will be entering kindergarten next year, has been on a wait list for speech therapy for close to a year. This is an ongoing wait for a family eager to see our child thrive. While we wait, the opportunity for early intervention and support through our school system remains out of reach. This is not just a personal story, it is a stark reality that many families in our district face. We all now know that early intervention can significantly improve outcomes for children with autism and other developmental challenges. These services offered through the school can bridge the gap and provide our children with the foundation they need to succeed academically and socially. I believe that every child deserves the right to access the services they need to flourish. As we shape the budget for the next school year, I implore you to prioritize funding that not only supports our schools as a whole, but also our most valuable students, vulnerable students, and the resources they depend on. By investing in our programs, you are not only supporting our children, you are creating a ripple effect that benefits our entire community. We have the power to ensure that every child, regardless of their challenges, has access to the support they need to fulfill their potential. In closing, let us remember that our schools should be a beacon of hope and opportunity for all students. By enhancing our services and addressing the urgent needs of our children, we can build a more inclusive and supportive school environment. Together, we can make a difference, and it starts with the choices we make today.
Thank you.
Hello. Kara Kovach-Gabordi, 51 Lovers Lane. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. As a proud East Lyme graduate and now parent, I've dedicated my career to supporting students and education. I know firsthand the difference that caring, consistent educators make in a child's development. I want to begin by expressing my heartfelt gratitude to the East Lyme educators who were instrumental in my education, and to those who currently and will in the future educate my son. Your work matters deeply, and your impact lasts far beyond the classroom. Thank you. In fact, just today, I ran into Mrs. Jacobson, my kindergarten teacher from 1992. I remember her and her letter people vividly. I'm sure many of you in this room remember her too. Can you imagine if her position had been cut during her tenure? It's a reminder that every position and every educator matters. While I do not support cuts to any educator positions, I want to be a voice for a department that is often one considered last. Physical education is not just about sports. It's about teaching students lifelong habits to support their physical and mental well-being. Our students deserve access to the full range of learning experiences, including those that take place in the gym, where they build not just stronger bodies, but stronger minds and character. At a time when youth mental health concerns, obesity rates, and screen time are all on the rise, physical education remains one of the few structured opportunities we have to actively address these issues. PE teachers are trained professionals who do far more than run games. They teach teamwork, resilience, leadership, and self-confidence. These are essential life skills that extend far beyond the gym. When we reduce positions, we disrupt consistency, relationships, and the quality of instruction. Students thrive when they have stable, dedicated educators who know their names, understand their needs, and build strong routines. Though the cuts are listed by school level, their impact is district-wide. For example, if a high school PE position is eliminated, the PE teacher at Lily B. Haynes will be displaced, and part-time positions eliminated. Those decisions ripple through our schools and affect far more than just one building.
If you could wrap it up, please.
This kind of shuffling is not in the best interest of our students. Investing in PE is investing in the whole child. Let's not cut corners when it comes to health and future of our students. Please let these words speak not only for physical education, but also for all of the educators whose positions may be on the line. Consider not only what we stand to lose, but more importantly, what we must protect. Let's continue to be a district that values the whole child, that invests in wellness, and that understands the true purpose of education. Thank you for your time, your dedication to East Lyme, and for ensuring that all citizens will have a voice in what they value in our town by casting their votes at the budget referendum. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have Ashley Walsh, Rebecca, and then Jamie.
Hi, my name is Ashley Walsh. I live on 43 Mastowee Road. We too moved here for the schools after doing our homework. I'm actually from Rhode Island, and we ended up moving into the state for the schools. First, I wanted to thank Denise for her letter regarding the pilot program. I do think that is some funding we need to look into in the future. Secondly, I want to acknowledge the students who are the ones that are going to be impacted and do not have a vote. Also, I did see that Rocky Hill was on that graph, but it's not in the top 10 schools. And 8 of the other top 10 high schools in Connecticut are all in Fairfield County. There's only one that's not besides us. Lastly, I just want to say that we expect taxes to increase. We don't live in Connecticut because the taxes are cheap. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Jamie Bar-Shelburne. I live at 31 McElhaney Drive. I am here tonight as a board member and a parent and a mother and not an educator because I don't have that gift. But I have been a Board of Ed member since 2007. I have seen a lot of budget cuts. I've seen a lot of superintendents. I've seen a lot of administrations. I just want to kind of clarify that Jeff and his administration does not just roll over a budget. He works at zero every year. His staff goes to zero and they build up. It's not a rollover budget as we've had in the past. He works from the bottom up, so there will be no rollover ever. This cut that I'm seeing from the Board of Finance is the worst I've ever seen. It is detrimental to our students, our staff, our town, the future of the world. Because what we're doing is we're doing a disservice to our children. I agree with everything that's been said tonight, so I'm not going to reiterate it. I'm going to try to save everyone their time. But I would like to go back to the Rocky Hill number. Rocky Hill's mill rate is 35.92. If I wanted a mill rate of 35.92, I'd move to Rocky Hill. But I don't. I want the mill rate that we have of 28. Isn't that the proposed 28.2? I prefer that over 35.92. And I'd like to talk about Madison, which was also up on the board. Madison, their budget is dropping because they're closing, they're going from 7 schools to 4 schools, and they have aged out a bunch of their 22-year-old special needs students, which we all know special needs drives up costs, and that is the reason why the Madison budget is dropping. So just a few things for the sidetrack.
And Jamie, I just want to say, I did not say that Jeff does a rollover budget. I said if you were to, what it would look like. So I wasn't suggesting that was the case.
Hi, my name's Rebecca Karen. I reside at 3 Aberdeen Court in East Lyme. I stand here before you as the wife of a proud Navy veteran who, after 21 years of service, retired. And after moving coast to coast to coast to coast to other countries, we could not wait to move to East Lyme and establish a forever home. And we came upon that decision because of the school systems and the school district. And I don't want to stand here and reiterate things that have already been said, but I do want to point out, I don't want to diminish anybody's financial concerns or worries, because we all have them. But my question is, where is the proof? Where is the evidence, other than anecdotally, to show that funding the proposed Board of Ed's budget will severely or even marginally compromise the quality of life for anyone in this town? The words too expensive or can't afford is quite frankly nothing more than the rote response of people who don't want to fund additional and necessary resources. But I also want to thank you, everybody here, for showing my children how to galvanize and motivate people to come out and advocate for things that are important to them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Ingmanson, 13 Brookfield Drive. I am a parent in the district. I'm also a 20-year veteran teacher in Connecticut. I've been to the Board of Ed meeting. I went to the Board of Ed meeting last week, and I'm very impressed with the board, and they worked really hard on this, and they are, in my opinion, from what I heard them say, they are upset about what they have been tasked with, and it's not fair to them. They've worked hard. And I'm also troubled by what I hear tonight from this audience here, because I hear you guys talk about the needs to increase money, and I get that. But you talked about making things run more smoothly by adding a firefighter. It would make Flanders run more smoothly next year. Keeping those second graders, the 43 second graders, getting them that third teacher so that their class sizes can remain the same as all the other elementary classes in the district, right? If you take away that teacher, you're going to bump them up, and all the other classes will be within Board of Ed guidelines, but not that second grade classroom. That would make them run smoother. You also talked about essential bus services for seniors. You know what's essential at the high school here? Having that extra guidance counselor to meet with all those students who need help picking their classes so that they can have the career of their choice, so they can get into the schools that they want to do the extra things they want to do. So it's important to talk about essentials at your level, but there's also essentials at our level in our schools. I've heard you guys talk about the discussion of increased costs, insurance, pension, et cetera. But I didn't hear you talk about reducing staff at the town offices to help reduce those costs. I heard you talk about increases to software, and I know that the Board of Ed was asked to look at reductions to software, and they did, but I didn't hear you talk about reducing software costs on your end. So that's the pieces that are troubling to me. Like, they're doing the work to make reductions because you've asked them to, but I didn't hear you present the reductions on your end. I also see that you've gone line item through the Board of Ed's budget, and then you flippantly get up here and suggest that we reduce a few staff members and that it might hurt a little. But I didn't hear you talk about reducing staff members at the town level or reducing that. And so it's a little frustrating to hear those conversations, the flippant conversations about people's livelihood, when that wasn't really presented here on your level. I hear you guys talk about increasing mill rates and the costs, yet you're suggesting a $250,000 boat plus maintenance costs at the cost of a teacher or at the cost of things for a school. Many teachers, yes. So my point here is that you seem to have spent a lot of time nitpicking the Board of Ed's budget, but I have not seen you show the nitpicking that you've done to your end, and that is frustrating to me as a mother and a town member. So thank you for listening, but that's my frustration.
Thank you. Maybe Dan, do you want to respond to some of the cuts that we did? So I do just want to point out that there were cuts made to the town budget and to people, and not filling positions that were asked for. So yes, that has happened. And yes, if we did go line item by line item through every single department budget at the town. And if you wanted to listen, go ahead.
Hello, Esteban Garcia, 10 Winston Road. I am a member of the Board of Education, also the parent of first grader and a fifth grader. I'm gonna go off script. I had a whole thing, but for the interest of time, I'm just gonna hit some of the points that were mentioned on the presentation about the comparison to Madison and Rocky Hill. So that was, the accountability index, very important, thing to look at. But if we look at the accountability index for Madison and for both Rocky Hill, if you see the trend for the last few years, Madison went from a 92%, 92.5 accountability index, and because of the cut budget costs and the reductions that they have, right now they're at 77. So you see that trend. Same thing with Rocky Hill. There's a downward trend. So what that tells us is, yes, they right size the classes, make cuts, but at the expense of outcomes. So that's very important. So that's one point, it took me 2 minutes to research that. So you say that, there was some information that was presented to you while, all the information is out there available. So we'll also have to be strategic in our thinking and our investing for our schools and see budget cuts today, what that would mean for 3, 4, 5 years down the road knowing that there's a lot of need that came out of COVID. Those needs are still there. Those kids, my kindergarten, my fifth grader was in kindergarten when COVID happened. So those are lasting effects that he's going to need extra support throughout the years to be able to get on par and be a future surgeon, business owner, or educator, as many of the people have spoken here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Vivek Purohit, 48 Heritage Road, and I'm a current Board of Ed member. I and my family moved here about approximately 19 years ago now. And one of the reasons why I moved here was for the school systems. And my son has graduated, he's a sophomore in college. And I'm very proud of what the East Lyme school system offered him, and he was able to pursue his dreams. I'm also proud that we have a ranking, or we are in the top 10 of schools in Connecticut. Well, we should look at that ranking and figure out a way of maintaining that ranking and maintaining what services we have, rather than looking at that ranking and say, well, maybe we can drop down a few points. That should not be the objective. There are several things that I'd like to talk about, but I'm being given 2 minutes. I applaud the Board of Finance for asking the right question, but I don't think we are going about it in the right way. I'll just take the example of the focus on the class size and AP classes. My son took AP classes here. If I have to take those AP classes, I don't know if his teacher, one of his teachers, Mrs. Buckley, who taught him AP Lang, I would drop that class in a month. That's a hard class. So for us to say that, oh, we need 20 kids in all these AP classes, that's a little bit absurd. And you are comparing it with the AP classes with other towns. I don't know what rigor you are looking at between the classes. Not all AP classes are the same. AP music theory, that's a hard class for anybody who doesn't understand music. You can't expect 30 kids to take AP music theory, because not everybody is inclined towards AP, music. And if you are saying that because we have less students, so we are not going to offer it, are you saying that nobody should have a dream of pursuing a career in music? We can't have that kind of a mindset if we want to maintain our ranking and maintain our schools. With that point, I will say this. Education is not an on-off system. You can't turn that switch on and off and expect everything to be maintained. There has to be investment for the future. That being said, I would strongly I'd strongly ask the Board of Finance to reconsider the cuts they are asking the Board of Ed to do. Thank you.
Thank you. So then we have Jerry Barrett, Rita Giles Glover, Susan Gonzalez, Nathan Butler. Sure. I think it's Jerry Barrett. Go ahead.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Rita Keelis Glover. I live in 15 Marywood Lane. I am the proud parent of a junior, Tristan, here at East Lyme High School, and an 8th grader, Colton, at the middle school. I'm also an educator, currently the East Lyme Middle School PTA president, and a very proud East Lyme graduate. My husband, also a professional educator and East Lyme graduate, chose to return and raise our family here because of the strength of this school system, because of these teachers, these administrators, and all of their love and support that they give the children. I am also a director of curriculum instruction and assessment in another district, and so I know truly firsthand the real impact that these budget cuts will have and how devastating it is when resources and opportunities for students are lost. Every proposed cut has been concerned. We've heard from librarians, teachers, paraprofessionals, everyone. For the purpose of my profession that I currently do, and I know firsthand, I'd like to focus on the high school, and I'd like you to really think about that impact. The proposed $1.5 million cut to the Board of Education, eliminating 7 teaching positions, even a guidance counselor, Why would we change anything in a school that is already ranked number 10? These cuts absolutely will mean fewer course offerings. Students will be unable to take electives they need for college and career exploration. These cuts will absolutely mean larger class sizes. I'm not sure, well, I do understand about high school scheduling and how you got your numbers, but please know that currently my son has at least 20 students in every one of his classes. These are in core subjects like math, science, English, social studies, PE, all of it. These cuts will impact activities, clubs, and sports. As was mentioned in Mr. Newton's letter, many of these teachers are serving dual roles because that's what teachers do. They are constantly serving multiple roles. So as you cut more, you are putting more on these teachers that they already have. And sadly, this also means that the students in these schools are going to have less trusted adults, less adults that they can build relationships, that the kids need to feel connected to school and invested in our future.
Rita, if you could.
Once these positions are gone, they're nearly impossible to reinstate. They don't just impact next year, they damage the future strength of East Lyme for years to come. I have seen firsthand the impact of the variety of class offerings have on our students. My son's growth from his freshman year to his junior year has been remarkable, and I attribute this to the variety and the depth of the courses with wonderful teachers and administrators who have guided him through this.
Okay,
Our students deserve a full educational experience. Support the 6.72% board, please. This request is not a luxury. It is a necessity to protect the quality of our education.
So, Susan Gonzalez.
I know. You don't know me. Susan had to step outside to take a phone call. My name's Anthony Gresh. I'm at 51 Grouse Circle. I'm not on your list, but I am a voter. I am a professor at an uppity liberal arts college down the road called Connecticut College. I'm a public school graduate. I believe in public schools. My public school was not as cool as East Lyme. By far. I'm a first-gen college student. I am a lifelong learner, and I'm an educator. I firmly believe everything where did you go? One of the last speakers, you have to set strong foundations for education. You have a rough job here. It's a tough job. You have my empathy. And yet, we know that budgets are moral documents. We know that you can't turn education on and off and expect, when we can turn it back on, for it to be where it was. One last anecdote. I teach very privileged students at Connecticut College, on average. But through the New London Scholars Program, I'm very fortunate to receive students from New London, from Williams School, from East Lyme. And I can say this, without a doubt, that when East Lyme sends its students and they join my class, these students perform better than 50% of the incoming freshmen at Connecticut College. They're high school seniors. They're prepared. They can write better than me and my sophomores. And after just a couple weeks, they can apply critical analytic skills that are sometimes better than my seniors. We do a good job here. I know you know this. And there's a dialectic here. These cuts are going to hurt us in the future. Enrollments are going to tick back up. We've seen the numbers. They're projected. It's going to take a little while. Please find a way to reduce the severity of this cut so we can keep these strong foundations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nathan Butler. I live at 54 Charter Oak Drive in East Lyme. My wife, who you saw leave a little bit ago, had to go watch my two young East Flanders students My high school babysitter had to go to sleep. I, like some other people here, I retired from the Army. The Army would have transferred me just about anywhere. I lived in Georgia, Alabama. Between the two, I could have gone almost anywhere. Like some other people, and most, I came here as a transplant from New Hampshire. Why? Because I did my research. The East Lyme School District is one of the best. And it's better, one of the best in the North for sure. I had a whole page here. I'm going to skip it. Everyone has done a great job. I think every board member here and their specific boards and the staff, you have a hard job. And I respect you all for stepping up to the plate to do it, because I know not everyone will. I am disheartened by one of the statements you had up on your slides, talking about money and how much more money spent is not, isn't gonna say that students are gonna hire at a higher outcome or have better services or better lives, livelihood. As an outcome-based person, you gotta start planning. Step one is what do you want your outcome to be, and then you got to go from there. I appreciate Superintendent for coming to our school for the PTA meeting. My wife, by the way, we've only lived here for a couple of years, she's the president of the PTA. Her first job was the president incumbent. I'm sort of the co-president because I volunteer every time we have an event, as I'm sure many other parents do. My kids love books. I recently gave a whole stack of books to the East Lyme Library, or not to the East Lyme Library, to the Flanders Library. Why? My kids would rather go to the East Lyme Library, or Flanders Library, to get a book because of their services that are there and offered, as I'm sure in the other two elementary schools as well. The disservice is disheartening. Put the money back, I urge you, and let the town vote on it. I'm a voter here just like everybody else. Put it back to a vote and let us decide. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to call a few more names first. Then we have Joaquin Raycraft, Rachel Lansing, Meryl DeCardis.
I just wanted to take 2 minutes as a town employee because there hasn't been any town support, even though I want you all to know. I applaud you all. I think your efforts are incredible. And I totally agree 100% with you all, okay? I raised 3 daughters in the town of East Lyme. They all went through the school system, fantastic school system. But when they graduated, I stayed here. Our family stayed here to support future students of the East Lyme Public School System. We didn't move out of town for cheaper taxes. We didn't move out of town for our own benefit. We stayed here to support this community. My husband has a business in this town. I think y'all probably know, you've seen a float or two of his. But what I really am trying to get across right now is to the taxpayers that don't have children in school, that think that this budget is too high. We have fallen on very unfortunate circumstances. Political wars, whatever, call it whatever you might. We are in the thick of it. What I'm asking those of you that are thinking about turning this budget down is to think again and support these children today because we supported yours. Thank you.
Meryl DeCarolis, 9 Pleasant Drive. I stand before you today wearing 3 hats. As a high school special education teacher, a mother of 3, and a concerned community member. I am here to express my deep and urgent concerns regarding the proposed budget cuts that threaten the very foundation of our students' educational experience. As a special educator, I see firsthand the daily challenges faced by students with disabilities and the incredible impact that adequate resources, staffing, and support services have on their ability to succeed. Special education is not a luxury. It is a legal and moral obligation to provide every child with the opportunity to reach their fullest potential. When we talk about budget cuts, we are not just talking about numbers on a page. We are talking about real children whose needs are complex and whose futures depend on our commitment to their education. Cutting school supplies is unjust. While we may live in an affluent community, many students still face
significant socioeconomic challenges. Teachers are forced to dip into their own pockets to provide essential supplies for their classrooms. This is not just unacceptable, it is a disservice to our children and a stark reminder that our educators are not compensated fairly for the crucial work they do. Next, the proposed cuts to the Pathways program are detrimental. As a special educator, I know how vital transitional programs are for students with disabilities who often require individualized planning and support to move successfully from high school to adulthood. By eliminating programs such as these, we are setting them up for failure, sending them off into a world without a clear understanding of their potential careers and the self-advocacy skills they need. All students deserve the robust transitional education, and the loss of these programs could have lasting repercussions, especially for those who rely on them most. Field trips are not a luxury that can be easily cut. For many of our students, especially those with special needs, these experiences are their only opportunities for enrichment outside of the classroom. Field trips provide essential social, emotional, and experiential learning that cannot be replicated by textbooks alone. By taking away field trips, we are shrinking their world and denying them the chance to create meaningful memories with their peers and their teachers. The decision to cut essential instructional software is equally alarming. Our youngest students, including those with learning differences, will enter a workforce increasingly dominated by technology, yet we are poised to deprive them of resources that they need to thrive. I really need to finish. I'm sorry, I've got experience here. This will hinder their ability to learn and adapt in an ever-evolving landscape. Moreover, the removal of our athletic trainer position threatens the well-being of our student athletes. This role is vital for ensuring their physical health and safety. Injuries can derail not just athletic careers, but scholarship opportunities that could change lives. I promise I'm almost done. Now let's talk about the proposed staff cuts. 7 positions at the high school level may not directly affect special education, but the ripple effect will be felt by our most vulnerable students. Increasing class sizes will make it nearly impossible to provide differentiated instruction. Our students will fall through the cracks and their futures will be jeopardized. As a special educator, I rely on collaboration with general education teachers, paraprofessionals, and support staff to meet the diverse needs of my students. When staff are cut, this collaborative network is weakened, and the students with disabilities are the first to feel the impact. Finally, consider the 4 paraprofessional positions that are being eliminated simply because they were never filled. This is not just a budget issue, it is a moral failing. Our paraprofessionals are essential to supporting our most vulnerable students. Cutting these roles will overburden our special education teachers and contribute to a cycle of high turnover in these critical positions. The shortage of special education staff is already a nationwide concern, and these cuts will only worsen the situation, making it harder to provide the legally mandated services our students require. We cannot normalize these cuts. We must advocate for our students, our teachers, and our community. The education and well-being of every child, especially those with greatest needs, should be our top priority. I urge you to listen to our voices and understand the real consequences. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Ekem Raycraft. I live at 19 Upper Walnut Hill Road. I want to thank the boards of Finance, Selectmen, and Education who have worked diligently and thoughtfully to deliberate regarding the town budget. I have not attended, but I have watched the hours and hours of deliberation and understand that these budget cuts were not made lightly. However, if the priorities are needs over wants and maintaining what we have, those ideas are diametrically in opposition with the Board of Education reduction that is presented here tonight. Maintaining what we have is not limited to town vehicles and software. To maintain value and high level of education, maintain staff levels, and maintain morale, these are all very much related. We made a commitment with contractual salary increases, and now the message is that we cannot afford it. How are previous commitments and standards wants and not needs? And why should what people had in the past, why should we be pulling that ladder up? Staffing cannot be as dynamic as implied. They're not just numbers on a piece of paper, and we can't treat people like we put water in a bathtub to be drained and filled at ease. These decisions will have impact and reverberate throughout the district. There are no just paras or just secretaries, and this will be the new baseline for years forward. I thank you for giving us the forum to share our input and I thank you for considering the input that you are receiving tonight.
Thank you. So, Rebecca, Karen, Alexander, you, Milan, or Neela, Kazar.
Hi, my name is Rachel Banaco Lansing. I live at 13 Maplewood Drive. Thank you all very much for your time. I know we all have a lot to say. I'm a proud product of the East Lyme Public School System. I now have 2 daughters, one in 3rd grade at Lily B. Haynes, who's way past her bedtime, and another who will start kindergarten in the fall. I'm here to plead with you all to reconsider the cuts to the superintendent's proposed budget. I'm here because public education is a vitally important part of our town's budget for all of us, not just for families with students. I know that's a concern of yours. The benefits of a well-funded public education system are felt by the whole community. When it came time for my family to purchase a home, we chose East Lyme, specifically because of the reputation of our schools. Anecdotally, many of my neighbors did the same. We are the taxpayers. We are contributing to rising property values. We are providing a workforce for our local economy. It's my hope that my children will one day do the same and choose to move here and continue to contribute meaningfully to our community. An educated populace is beneficial to everyone. Study from the American Economic Review demonstrates education is one of the most effective tools for reducing crime and lowering costs associated with law enforcement and incarceration. A town that values this is one that cares about public safety, and I believe we do. The staff and faculty who would lose their jobs as a result of these cuts are vital, irreplaceable members of our community. They've changed my family's life. I've been trying to speak to the universal benefits of well-funded schools, but I want to speak about my personal experience for just a moment. My daughter, Cecilia, is neurodivergent, deals with ADHD and other learning challenges. She attended kindergarten at a public school in Jersey City, where we lived at the time. Her class was 25 students. The teacher had no paraprofessional help. The school psychologist was stretched so thin across the district she couldn't meet with us for 3 months. Despite the best efforts of the teachers and the administrators there, my kid was in crisis. Coming to East Lyme was like seeing the clouds clear away after a storm. The support she's been given at school has been remarkable, and I've watched her flourish there. I want to make sure we continue to be a place where students who need support services can receive them in the same robust way we have for years to come. It's meant everything to my family, and it's why we continue to live in this town, and we will continue to support the schools for the rest of our lives. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Nyla Kazher. I live at 50 South Edgewood Road in Niantic. Good evening. Thank you for being here. Again, I'm Nyla Kazher, and I'm proud to serve as the Vice President of the East Lyme Middle School PTA. I have also been an educator in Connecticut for 20-plus years. I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of, obviously, our students, families, educators, and to advocate for the future of our schools. Obviously, we recognize the challenges that you face, but cuts of this magnitude will have devastating, and I repeat, devastating consequences for our students, our staff, and the overall quality of education in East Lyme. Eliminating the positions that we're talking about will not simply tighten our belt. It will fundamentally change the educational experience we provide. Class sizes will grow. Personalized attention, it's going to shrink. Extracurricular programs are going to suffer, and critical support services will disappear. Our students are going to feel these impacts every single day. Our teachers and staff are not just educators. I believe somebody else said the exact same thing. They are mentors, they are role models, they are lifelines for our children. Reducing their numbers jeopardizes not just academic growth, but emotional and social development as well. These individuals that we're talking about cutting, they lead the clubs, they're the ones who coach the teams, they create the vibrant culture that makes East Lyme schools a home for learning, not just a place of instruction. Furthermore, larger class sizes and fewer support staff will put additional strain on the teachers who do remain. Burnout, I know what it's like, is already a concern nationwide. It is an overburden of our educators further, and we risk losing the very talent and dedication that makes our schools strong. We are proud of the excellence East Lyme schools represent, but excellence cannot be maintained under the cuts that are this deep. Once the programs are dismantled and the staff are let go, it is incredibly difficult and expensive to try to rebuild them. We owe it to our students to protect the quality of their education, not diminish it. I urge you, reconsider the depth of these reductions. Our schools are the heart of our community. Strong schools mean stronger property values. Somebody else said it earlier too. Greater civic engagement and a brighter future of East Lyme. Investment in education is an investment in our town's future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lindsay Sam. I live at 7 Hickory Court, and here's my son, Alexander Xu, and he has something to say to the Board of Finance. Do you want to say that, Elsa?
Hi, my name is Alexander, and I'm in first grade at Lily B. Haynes Elementary School. I heard that some people might take money from our school, and that makes me sad. We could lose things like supplies for art, music, or help from teachers. I don't want my friends or my little brother to miss out the good things I have now. I also don't want the kids next year to lose something forever, like when they took away Spanish and never brought it back. School helps us learn and grow and kind. Please don't take money away. It really matters to us. Thank you.
Thank you. So Jessica Blodgett, Leanne Spino-Sajek, no, Bonnie Dombrowski, okay.
Hi, I'm Olivia Blodgett, 30 Lake Ave. Jessica is my wife. I'm going to speak as me first and Jess next. 15 years ago, when Jess and I were planning our future as naive 19-year-olds, we were sure it would end, and we would start and end in Niantic. We bought Jessica's childhood home with the intention of it being our forever home. Starting a family, which was a journey in and of itself, was next on our list. Long story short, my wife now walks to her job with our daughter all the way to school, 1 block, gathering 2 to 3 other elementary school students along the way. That's the dream that I've had for my kids and my wife before they even existed. Good evening. My name is Jessica Blodgett. I teach physical education at Niantic Center, and with these cuts, I will not just lose my job, but my dream. This school is a part of my family's story. My grandfather walked these halls. Years later, he organized the Children's Theater there, a program that shaped the lives of countless students. When he passed away, former students, grown adults, traveled back to honor him, sharing how that experience changed their lives. That is the kind of impact that one person rooted deeply in a community can make. I was proud to walk those halls as a student too. Now my own children do the same. The school isn't just where I work, it is a promise that I have carried forward to give my students not just a lesson from a book, but experiences that stay with them for a lifetime. Budget cuts are painful, and I understand that. But this school's heart is its people, people who believe in it with everything they have. Please let me to continue to be one of them, and thank you.
Thank you.
That's me.
Okay.
That was for my daughter. So you said the students will be able to speak.
Yeah.
So could you cross off Sarah Selk?
Okay. Okay.
Hi, Leanne Spino-Sejas, 17 Plum Hill. All right, so I'm gonna read half my speech and then scrap half my speech because I don't want to beat the dead horse here. So, my family moved to East Lyme in summer of 2022. I work in Rhode Island, my husband works in New Haven, and so we decided we could live anywhere in the middle, anywhere. We picked East Lyme. And we picked East Lyme without ever setting foot in East Lyme. I literally never walked into this town until I viewed my home. I put an offer in on that day. I did not explore the rest of the town. I went home and our offer was accepted. It was solely based on the school district. Only the school district. Since moving here, we've been grateful to become part of the community. Our daughter is a first grader at Lily B. Haynes. I got a 3, almost 4-year-old that's going to be entering kindergarten soon. We're here for the long haul, so this matters. So look, now I scrapped the speech. Y'all got a hard job. I get it. You see the big picture stuff. A lot of us are talking about the Board of Education budget. You're trying to find a compromise. You don't control the cuts that the Board of Education makes. I get it, right? That's hard. That said, your voters are here, and your voters are telling you what they want. And I urge you to listen to your voters. We understand that a cut of this magnitude, and it is a cut. I know you can't frame it as a cut because that doesn't look good, but like if costs increase and you don't increase the budget enough to cover that, it's a cut, right? And if you do that, it has a slow erosion effect of the reason why people like my family moved here. And a lot of our families, it seems like, from tonight. All right, so I urge you to reconsider. I urge you to put money back into the budget and then let your voters decide what they want to do. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Bonnie Dombrowski. I live at 103 Walnut Hill Road. I'm here tonight to ask that you reconsider the $1.5 million cut to the proposed Board of Ed budget and instead reinstate at least half, $750,000, so that voters can decide for themselves what's affordable and appropriate for the town budget. We all know taxes are going up this year because of increases in both the town government and the Board of Ed budgets. That's a reality, and it's fair for taxpayers to be asking hard questions. But a $1.5 million cut from education puts an outsized burden on our schools, our teachers, and our students. We often hear, at least twice tonight, that the Board of Finance doesn't decide how education dollars are spent, that it's up to the Board of Ed. But with a cut this large, let's be honest, you do shape those decisions. You may not choose the line items, but you know what a reduction of this size means. 2 observations from the presentation. One, in responding to the graph of the Daniel Hand School that manages their staff to student ratios, is there a graph of how they manage their staff morale? Secondly, I love that the Board of Finance and First Selectman took a bus around town to get to know the details of town departments. Will there be a bus to the schools to spend a day in our schools next year? I did the math this weekend, and based on the projected mill rate increase to 27.9, the 1.5 million reduction translates to about $12 a month for the average taxpayer. Reinstating half, $750,000, would mean just $6 more per month in additional tax. That's $1.50 a week, less than a cup of coffee, to preserve teaching jobs and educational quality in our town. Reinstating $750,000 doesn't lock us into spending more. It simply puts the question to the voters. This isn't about spending recklessly. It's about giving voters the respect to weigh in, because once those teaching positions are gone, the impact on kids will be very real. I ask you to please reinstate $750,000.
So Andrea Montavani. And yes, we did view East Lyme High School, but it was towards the end of the last budget year. But this was considered to be one of the biggest sources of wants and needs. So yes, we did do that.
All right. Hi, I'm Andrea Montavani. I live at 43 Seaview Avenue in Niantic, and I come with a lot of validity. We come from a family of educators. My husband's an educator here in East Lyme. He is a PE teacher, which directly these cuts will affect his department. I'm an administrator and a fellow district in our DIRG, and so I'm an assistant principal. So sorry, I'll apologize right now. I have not attended the Board of Finance meetings or the Board of Education here, but I've done my notes. I've read because I'm attending the ones in my own district. So unfortunately, this is something that's happening across all districts. But I feel I had a speech ready, but I feel like everyone's kind of said it already. You know, they've done your job for you tonight. You've had every single person telling you to put the money back into the budget and let the taxpayers decide. That made your job a lot easier. It's really disheartening that we are in a field that, in my 18 years, I've had to pick it 3 times. I've had to take pay cuts 3 times. I've had to come here in 2019, and once again, instead of being at home with my daughters. What other profession can you say that we're always fighting for our careers to stay in place, that we're always fighting for respect? And it's disheartening. Teacher appreciation is right around the corner. This is not how we want to get it started, by saying that we are going to be cutting 1.5 from the budget. And unfortunately, some things that you were saying, like professional development, it's imperative, but also a mandate from the state. Right now, the state of Connecticut is mandating the right to read. No money given to us, but we have to pay hundreds of $1,000s for new literacy and training for our teachers. Restorative practices, more training for our teachers. Purposeful play in kindergarten and preschool, mandated. In some other grades, it's optional. Those are all mandates from the state of Connecticut that are not funded, but we have to figure out how. But there's ways that we can do it. It's called equity. Equity across all of our departments. And I just feel like the department that got the lack of equity is the education department. When I was going through line by line, some things that I thought were just very interesting. Our department in education had to cut personnel. We're having to cut supplies and equipment, but other departments, they're increasing them, they're adding to them, or they're keeping them status quo. Office furniture, $15,000. Paving, $900. That's great. Yes, maybe I could go around a couple potholes. Maybe we can cut that in half and not pave everything this year and go maybe $450 this year, $450 next year. Storage shed for somebody, $8,500. Teachers are always trying to figure out storage. So is that really a necessity? Overtime. Every teacher in this room does not get paid overtime. They do that on their own. Overtime for the finance department, $14,915. The assessor's office with many offices, supplies, $8,000 in office supplies. We have a teacher cutting her erasers into 3. Park rec department, overtime, $23,000. That's an increase from last year. Oh, I still have time. I didn't stop you. Road signage, $19,000. That is crazy. Let's just keep the signs we have. Maybe we can put some new in next year. Traffic calming, and Mr. Selectman, with all due respect, our department over here went digitally with their platform, with their mailings, everything like that. Your department this year is projected to have $25,000 in postage. Let's start using technology and go green instead of mailing all of that out like they are doing with our report cards and all of our different flyers. I think your job is easy right now. We took a hard job you had and made it easy. Everybody in this room, everyone that left, everyone that spoke, told you what we would like. And leave it up to us. Put the money back in and let us as voters make that choice.
So, is there a Michael McCormick?
Hello, Michael McCormick of 10 Brookfield Drive. I wrote a lot. I stopped writing and started thinking and realized that everything I was going to say has already been said. But what wasn't really made clear, I think, was the sheer magnitude of the number of people here who came here because of the schools, the number of people who are here because their parents came here because of the schools. I'm one of those people. I came here because I brought my family here. We moved here because of your schools. My parents, I grew up in Stonington, You know, I could have gone, but they actually have a higher accountability number. We could have gone there. My parents would have been happy, but we decided to come here because you have an outstanding school district. And, you know, the cuts you're planning are going to impact the entire town. And it's not just, you know, education for the kids. It's also, you know, people's homes, their home values are going to drop because who's going to want to come to the school districts that's starting to downsize? You know, we have the number 10, we're number 10 according to whatever that list was. Why aren't we number 2? You know, I understand we don't have that kind of money, but we shouldn't be going out of our way to make these kind of cuts when everyone in this room is here because they want to support our schools. I mean, how many of you are here because your parents brought you to East Lyme because of the schools, or because you are parents who are here for the schools? I mean, really, how many of you? Everyone here, I guarantee you that at least even people on your Board of Finance, I would guarantee you, went through East Lyme Public Schools and then went on to, you know, get higher education. I myself, I went on through higher education because I was able to go through a good school district. And the resources that I had, I want my kids to have, as I'm sure you would all want your children to have good resources. So I'm pleading with you, why make cuts this large? So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Fred?
Hi, my name is Fred Altpotter. I live at 20 Church Lane. You know, I've seen an awful lot of young people stand up here this evening. And since I'm almost 70, most everybody's younger, you know? So, sorry, Dan. But, you know, I moved to East Lyme 10 years ago. My kids have been out of school for a long time. But one of the reasons I moved here was because of the school system and the fact that when I get to sell my house, that there'll be a demand for it because of the schools in this system. And, you know, I live on a fixed income. I see my pay raises every year or whatever the government decides to give me in Social Security. I don't see my pensions go up. I don't see, well, lately I've seen my investments do quite the opposite. So every month I do look at my budget and what's going up and what's staying the same. Certainly don't see anything going down, but from a grandpa perspective, I have to say that educating our youth is the duty of all of us, even when we no longer have kids in school. Because when I had kids in school, I said, well, gee whiz, I've got 3 kids in school, and my taxes are this, but my education for those 3 children is up here, so it's going to take a long time for me to pay that debt back to the rest of the people that now have kids in school. So I have to agree wholeheartedly from, you know, here's one of the senior citizens in town that you're trying to save, you know, taxes so that you don't force me to move somewhere else. And, you know, I think do we need a fireboat? Well, maybe. Do we need to go out and rescue people on the end of December when they're out in the Sound when they shouldn't be? Well, I don't necessarily think so. We have a Coast Guard, let them do it. And, you know, certainly when my house catches fire, I'd like to know the fire department is there. But is the need to educate our children any less important than having another firefighter on staff? And I'm not sure of that. So I would wholeheartedly ask the Board of Finance to please restore the money to the budget and let people like me decide, is this young man's education more important than, you know, than something else in the budget? You know, are those teachers? So I'd like to say, put the money back and let me, one of those voters with the gray hair, help decide whether we say yes or no.
Thank you.
On that same note from a different generation, but I don't. My name's Deborah, and I'm not a parent, and I won't be. I work at Electric Boat. I came to the area because of my husband at the time's job in the Navy, and I bought not just in this area, but in East Lyme because of the rising property values, because of the education and investing in the future. And I'm part of the village, and I'm here to say that it needs to go to the voters to decide that it's worth investing in our students and in our town's future and in our real estate values. That's why people come. My name is Deborah Stewart Van Orden, and I live at 21 Hillwood Drive. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Matt Sardo. I live at 15 Upper Kensington Drive. We moved here 2022. I have 3 daughters. Honey and Tessa are going to be going into 2nd grade next year at Flanders, and their class is going to be affected by the cuts. And I also, one of the things I do since I moved here, and I'm a nerd, I take my kids down to town hall. They've been to Dan's office a few times, but we drop off our property taxes to the office, and I explained to them, this is what your money goes for your schools. And the thing that was kind of really concerning to me is we were talking about the town's credit score versus education in our kids. And if it's credit score versus kids, I'm voting for kids. And there's money in the budget. If you look at the slides, there's money. There's the $1.5 million is there. It's sitting there. You guys have to decide how to get it to the Board of Education. Because there is definitely, we saw a lot of crazy slides about different schools, and I'm not going to talk about Rocky Neck again, but they're ranked 46th. But there's money in the budget that can go and fill the gap. And yeah, I have 3 daughters in the school. I love East Lyme. I coach softball for kids, so let's make it happen.
So at this point, are there any other voters in town that wanted to speak that? Okay. Yeah, there's a couple of names that I don't have checked off, so I thought they might have left the room and come back. I just want to make sure everyone has a chance.
Hi, and sorry, yeah, I'm feeling like crap tonight. I was going to leave when I ran out of tissues. I ran out of tissues a long time ago. Brian Zonstecker, 8 Cove Hill Road. That address only exists and didn't exist a few months ago. Actually, it's a direct result of investment in our public school system and our school district. And, you know, so many people have definitely said all the main things that I wanted to cover tonight. So I won't just rehash things, but I would like to reframe something in a different way, which is you'll notice that, yeah, like you said, you guys have a fiscal responsibility to the town, to the constituents that put you in the seats you're sitting in. As we made the point, even if you're just looking at numbers and statistics, I thank the elderly gentleman who does not have kids currently in school, but recognizing that the investment in education in our town and everything we do starts at the beginning, right? And that's where the education is. So one, it's fiscally irresponsible to pretend like these are short-sighted cuts. And certainly we can, argue the merits of what we are moving from one bucket to another. But even from just a pure data-driven financial perspective, have you been getting copious amounts of phone calls and letters and speeches and things from all the people telling you to, yeah, cut that 1.5 million. I don't know, but I would just ask you again, if you're just making a informed decision, do it based on information and your constituents. And the last thing that I'd like to say is, there's always this kind of, I remember standing here doing this a couple years ago when we were going through this, that you have this tendency to kind of make it sound like it's either the people who are doing it for the kids, or people who have kids in town, or, the people who pay taxes who don't have kids in town. I think we've really got to get away from this narrative that it's somehow they're like mutually exclusive or anything. I mean, we've talked a lot about, investments and what it pays off in and all that, but that's been shown time and time again. I think maybe, if you treat it like a village, more even in the messaging and all that it would help people also collaboratively deal with these things as a town, instead of, continuing to press this, this terrible theme we have in general right now, and the time we live in of being more divisive and, putting people to sides and then making them, choose which tribe feels like it fits better. So those are the two things I'd really just encourage you to do. And yeah, we're all here suffering maybe a little more than we intended to tonight, but it's also hopefully for the right reasons, and that we'll all sleep better tomorrow because of it.
Thank you. So with the students, first on the list here, Avi. Oh.
Hello, I'm Harper, 79 Dean Road. I'm a proud member of the Breakers and former Sea Dog, a member of East Lyme Middle School, and an 8th grader going to high school. So in a year, this will directly affect me. And I have respect for the board and all their decisions, knowing that you're a very important part of the town and make huge decisions for us. I really impact the entire society and community, but this isn't the best idea ever. I'm gonna be blunt. Listen, I have had so many lovely teachers in my years in this school district, and I cannot even fathom what my life would be like right now if I didn't have any of them. What would be like if any of them had even been cut. I can't imagine that. And I don't want to know, my brother used to be in high school, and I know that if he was here right now and still in the district, he would be severely, he also would be disappointed if he saw that some of his teachers were going to be cut. He was also just like me. He loved learning. We both love learning. And seeing that some of the teachers are going to be cut, it's not it. So, thank you.
Sarah Susko, 25 Willow Lane. Thank you all. I know you have a very hard job. It's not easy. But I sat through a zoning meeting the other day where property values were discussed and came up multiple times. And it's this common theme about property values. And everybody has the same goal here. We want to educate our kids, we want to be a lovely town, and we want to be that town that everybody comes to. And when we make choices like this to take all of this money out of our budget, it's directly in opposition of what we all want. And I'm here to ask you all to please put all of the money back in, not half of it, all of it, because our kids deserve it and our town deserves it. And I heard someone speak earlier about the 4 para positions, and that bothered me so much because my son is special needs, and I can't tell you how many paras he has gone through because they do not make a lot of money. And if you cut 4 paras, you're not cutting a lot out of the budget, and you're taking away 4 positions that are so needed, and that opportunity to fill those 4 positions to give teachers a break, to give kids better instruction, and to keep the day moving along. So I just ask you to please put all the money back in. Do it for our town, property values, education, whatever. Put it all back in. Thank you.
Thank you. My name's Aunt Venus Negrao, and I'm a freshman at East Lyme High School. And today, not only am I speaking for myself, but also for the vast majority of staff and students who will be severely impacted by this budget cut. Due to the $1.50 million funding cut, many of our teachers, people who guide us, challenge us, and support us, will be losing their positions. And because of that, next year, numerous classes and electives we are looking forward to taking, the ones that we are passionate about and wish to pursue, are being taken away. We are being asked to do more with less, fewer choices, bigger classes, fewer teachers, and fewer opportunities to figure out who we are and who we want to become. Removing important classes like AP courses significantly affect a student's competitiveness in college admissions. These courses help us build vital skills that help us strive after high school. They let us dive deeper into subjects that we're passionate about and ensure that we have a deep understanding of the subject. Some scholarships specifically look for AP coursework because it indicates a serious academic commitment. Real-world examples underscores the negative effects of such budget cuts. In 2008, Encino High School in Cali faced the elimination of numerous AP classes in the layoff of about 46 teachers due to the budget constraints. Similarly, River Point Academy in Washington, a STEM-focused high school, was permanently closed following an $11.3 million budget cut, depriving students of specialized educational opportunities. The long-term effects of these cuts will extend beyond academic setbacks. Students will find themselves less prepared for college-level work and result in increased dropout rates and limited career prospects. The community as a whole will suffer from less educated workforce, negatively impacting local businesses and the structure of our community. That's why it's so important for decision makers to think of the long-term effects of cutting the budget, as well as to look for alternative solutions that will prioritize the educational needs and future successes of us students. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Maya Diaquila, 46 Rathbun Hill Road. I'm a senior here at East Lyme High School, and I just want to take a minute to just observe that these are not just positions you are cutting, these are people. These are people who have dedicated over 10 years to this school system, people who have dedicated their time to educate me, and people who I know would do this job for free if it meant helping their students. I would like to express my own gratitude for the public education I have received here at East Lyme High School. Going to college next year, I am saving thousands of dollars through credits I have earned in my AP and ECE classes which your budget is cutting. That money I am saving is helping my family afford to put me through college. If you want to talk about how great East Lyme High School is in the education program, I need you to put your money where your mouth is. You are not just cutting our teachers, you are cutting our opportunities. It is also evident that a community's values can be seen through how they spend their money. So I pose a question: what does cutting spending on education say about this community? And do you think that represents us well? I think not.
Hi, my name is Virginia Buller. I'm also a senior here. I live at 80 Emerald Glen Lane in Salem. I would not be here today if it weren't for the wonderful teachers here at East Lyme High School, like literally. In 2018, my family moved specifically to East Lyme for the education system. When you look up, is East Lyme High School a good school, the first website pops up and says that 80% of students and parents agree that the teachers give engaging lessons. 82% of students and parents agree that the teachers genuinely care about the students. 82% of students and parents agree that the teachers adequately lead and control the classroom. Even better is the 11-to-1 student-teacher ratio, ensuring a quality education for every single student. These teachers are not dollar signs. They are human beings with souls, filled with passion and great skills that they are willing to pass on to every student that walks through the doors of this building. I think the question you should be asking yourselves is, how much do you value the next generation's education?
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Theodore Francis. I live at 39 Petaganset Drive in East Lyme. I am a current senior at East Lyme High School. I have an individualized education plan, a special education plan, because among other things, I am autistic. A similar student to me a decade or two ago might not have been considered in need of an IEP, and that student would have likely flunked out of high school. The sole reason for my passing, both sophomore and junior year, rests in the team of people who worked with me. Caseworkers, psychologists, social workers, my neuropsychiatric testing provided by the school, all of this on top of the classroom teachers who believed in me so hard that I started believing in myself too. At this point, I'm a straight A student with 5 AP classes, 2 ECE classes, and 2 Three River classes that I've taken through a partnership with the high school. I am a far more expensive student than my doppelganger from 20 years ago. Not because the needs of students have really increased, but because we are meeting more people's needs. Meeting needs is expensive. You can ask my casework, you can ask Miss Rose, Miss McInerney, Miss Buckley, Mr. Bergeron, Mr. Willis, Mr. King, Frau Hanley, Miss Singer, my in-school health center therapist, my neuropsych, who definitely has a name, and all of the background staff required for special needs students who I don't even know to appreciate. Each and every one is integral, and ask them whether Theodore Francis would be where Theodore Francis would be without that team. I can only speak to what I've experienced. I'm a successful student, but a very expensive one. These are the kind of cuts that will result in students like me slipping through the cracks. I just recently began paying taxes, and there is nothing I want my tax dollars to go more towards than education.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Emma Frisbee, and I am a sophomore at East Lyme High School. I am the Connecticut Poetry Out Loud State Champion, as well as the Connecticut National History Day State Champion. I represented Connecticut for both of these competitions in Washington, D.C. The reason why I mention that is because all of the clubs and all of the experiences that are available to students like me are run by teachers who are donating their free time to helping students like myself. So when you cut teachers from our high school, that has a direct impact on the faculty's ability to help students like myself. So yes, I understand that numbers matter. Budgets have to balance, but I'm here to remind you that behind every single number is a human being. A teacher who stayed after class to help me understand a tough assignment, who noticed I was struggling and asked if I was okay, who saw potential in me when I didn't see it in myself. Cutting these positions isn't just taking away a paycheck. It's taking away mentors, role models, and the true heart of our school. If we lose them, we lose the people who believe in us, who shape us, and who stand up for us. For me, every single day. So tonight, I'm standing up for them, just as they would for me. And I hope you will too.
Thank you.
My name is Avneeta Basu. I live at 4 Wind Circle. Hello, everyone. I would like to thank you for your ongoing work and commitment to the residents of our town. We appreciate it. As a resident, I have been a part of the East Lyme School District for 12 years, and today I stand here to ask you all to restore the critical funding to our schools. That 10th place ranking ranking of our high school cites the, quote, dedication of staff and faculty to students, end quote, and our diverse curriculum, which are both at risk. With these drastic changes, the district is preparing for reductions in staff and offered courses, which would be devastating. Please hear and listen when I say teachers personally give feedback and motivate us. I would not be able to understand a range of content in my classes despite the unlimited information of the internet without our many qualified and supportive teachers, our absolute greatest resource. Every teacher brings their own unique light to our schools through academics and student groups for each of our 13 years here. Those teachers at the high school at risk include Miss Archer, who organizes the Women's Empowerment Club, which works to make period products available in bathrooms. She also teaches our UConn ECE 1007 English class, which may not be able to meet student demand next year. Mr. Maddox has been the junior class advisor for the last 3 years and has helped us through events, fundraisers, and more. Many students seek to take his AP research course to earn their prestigious AP capstone diploma. Ms. Thompson, one of our 2 female PE and health teachers, is a constant role model due to her authenticity and openness. Every teacher brings life and happiness into our schools. We cannot measure their legacy in numbers. The student body would be deeply saddened to see any of them leave. This is a difficult situation. There will not be a perfect situation that satisfies every interest, but I implore you to consider the priceless effect of our teachers on our education, which will determine the collective future of our students, our teachers, and our town. As an organization of learning, I think our Board of Education and school faculty are pretty smart and know what they're doing with their proposed spending, so to the Board of Finance, I urge you to restore critical funding to our schools and invest in our future. And to the Board of Education members present, I urge you to consider alternative solutions to reductions. Thank you for your time, patience, and respect.
Thank you. So we do have a hard stop at 10:30, so if everybody could be as concise as possible, because we do have a meeting to adjourn to after this, so.
Hello, my name is Darcy Nabrowski. I live at 103 Walnut Hill Road. I'm a high school freshman and a part of the school senate. I'm here tonight on behalf of my classmates, since we, along with our teachers and staff, will be directly impacted by the decisions you make tonight. One of the most significant impacts of the proposed cut is that 7 teachers at the high school may lose their jobs, or at a minimum, those positions will be lost. One of those at-risk teachers is in the physical education department, and she taught my freshman wellness class earlier this year. When I walked into her class on the first day of school, I was immediately greeted by her smiling face at 7:30 a.m. Though we had to talk about STDs, nutrition, substance abuse, and other challenging but important topics, she always found a way to keep us engaged and teach the material in a way that is relevant to us teenagers. No teacher deserves to be cut, especially after the countless amount of hours they put into our learning, but it would be especially devastating to lose this teacher who made such a difference in my first semester as a freshman. I've also been told that some of the other teachers at risk are also club sponsors or coaches. I'm involved in 2 sports and a couple of clubs. The learning and growth that takes place within a sport or a club cannot be underestimated. Whenever there's a conflict at home or school, our parents and teachers say, "How can we compromise?" or "How can we meet in the middle?" Like my mom and other people said, I know it's not up to this board to decide how the budget is spent. That is the job of the Board of Education. But please reconsider how much money they have to work with, so students can continue to have opportunities and hardworking teachers don't lose their jobs. I would respectfully request that this board consider reinstating at least half of the cut to the proposed budget so the impacts of these cuts are minimized. I understand that balancing the needs of the town budget is complicated and there are tough decisions that have to be made, but let's meet in the middle.
Thank you.
My name is Augie Bryant. I live at 95 Walnut Hill Road. I'm a sophomore. I've been in the school system for about 11 years now. My grandparents worked for this school. My mom works for this school. My uncle works for the town. I'm familiar with this town. My dad was in the military. I wasn't born here. The first couple years of my life were here. We moved here for the school system. That was a major role in what we moved here. And I'm going to be frank, to put it cold, hard truth, the suggested changes implemented by the budget cuts will ultimately reduce the quality of education that students are able to receive. I know one of the things that stuck out to me was the reduction of class size. I was looking at the numbers you guys had up there. I think Ms. Nazara pointed on this. From my experience, those numbers are not accurate to my class sizes. My class sizes are in the 20s, lower 20s, 23, 22 students, maybe 18. The lowest class size I have is the one that is most accurate to that. There are 12 students in my math class. When I saw that number, I was like, that is insanely low. I told all my friends about that number. They were like, that is insanely low. And that's the number that you guys are projecting. And I'm not 100% sure those are accurate. And the same goes for my friends. I was talking to my friend. She said too, her class sizes are not what they were. They're like in the 20s, lower 20s, 23, maybe 18. And just the increase in class sizes, it's shown in many studies that higher class sizes is worse for students' education, and lower class sizes are going to be better. You get a more personal experience. You get more time to spend talking on subjects. You get, if you're not fully understanding something, you get to talk with the teacher more independently and better understand that subject. Another thing that I noticed was a lot of the electives and classes, we're losing them. One of my favorite things about East Lyme High School when I signed up, and I was like, wow, that is really cool, is the number of electives they offered. I've always been a person who has an interest in a wide range of subjects.
Also, could you wrap it up?
Yes.
Thanks.
One of the classes I'm taking now, biotech, when I heard that that was closing, I was very disappointed. Science is, you're working in labs, you're doing research. It's not like sitting and looking at notes, but most general classes you're going to get, you're sitting and looking at notes. And the labs offered in bio classes, well, you do get some in the general classes, it's not many. And biotech was something that really opened up to me, that field, as something I want to do. I had a friend, we did a lab, I'm wrapping up, I promise, DNA electrophoresis, looking at cancer patients. We spent, I think, like 3-4 days on that in bio class, a whole unit in biotech. And just from those 3-4 days, she was like, wow, that lab was really cool. I might want to go into the medical field. She had never said that before. She had never thought of that before. So having the opportunity for those classes is great to expand on the amount of fields available for students to think about. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ayla Peterson. I live at 6 Brook Road, and I am a senior here at East Lyme High School. I am one of the many students who moved here from another district, in fact, another state at one point. We're in that district every single morning on the announcements. At the end, they said, and remember to graduate, because graduation is important. Here at East Lyme High School, we do a lot more than just graduate. I am walking out of these doors with 12 college credits, and I would like to thank the teachers that made that happen, Mr. Hernandez, Mrs. Buckley, and I think Mrs. Tressler has left the building at this point. But the passion that I feel for education would not be as strong as it is without these teachers. Cutting this budget is detrimental to so many students. There are AP courses, there are ECE classes, there are honors courses. Even classes that don't have college credit on the line are important. So like Mrs. Archer is at risk of being cut, and she has inspired so many people in this school. The time in which she was gone was so hard for so many, and every single day that I walk past her room, there are so many people in there talking to her, asking her questions. Teachers are so important to students. They are not just a few cuts. They are people. They are important. It is the responsibility of the board to guarantee the highest quality of education for those in the East Lyme community. I hope this board understands that by losing teachers, students will lose opportunities that they may not have anywhere else. I implore you to reconsider the cuts to the budget, because following through would mean that the quality of education here plummets, and future students lose the opportunity to succeed at the level that past and present students have. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sophia Selk, 2 Pepperidge Lane. I am a freshman at East Lyme High School. I don't have a direct say in the decisions made by the Board of Finance because I'm not old enough to vote. However, I live with the consequences of those decisions every single day. Tonight I'm here because the proposed $1.5 million cut to our education budget would have a profound and painful impact, not just on my experience, but on the experiences of every student at East Lyme High School. So far, my high school experience has been great. I love that most of my class sizes are small. I love that I have the opportunity to build meaningful relationships with my teachers. I love having a wide range of electives that allow me to explore my interests. Every day, I look forward to going to school. However, if this budget cut passes, many of the things I love about my education would change for the worse. I believe that the best learning occurs in classrooms where students and teachers know, respect, and care for each other. If cuts are made, one of my favorite teachers may not be at the high school next year. Every other day, I look forward to walking into his class, and on the days in between, I look forward to high-fiving him in the halls. I can't imagine not seeing him next year. It's predicted that at least one teacher from every core subject will be laid off. That would result in larger class sizes and more stress on the teachers who remain, which could lead to reduced opportunities for meaningful teacher-student relationships. Small classes that encourage connection and engagement would disappear, and our hardworking teachers would risk burnout. I recently met with my guidance counselor, and we planned out my sophomore, junior, and senior year courses. It's possible that some electives, classes I've looked forward to taking since middle school, will no longer be offered. This year I'm taking creative writing, a class I had no idea I would love so much. And now I'm planning, assuming it is still offered, to take creative writing too. In addition to electives, accelerated classes such as AP and dual enrollment early college experience could be cut or have the number of seats reduced. For many East Lyme High School students, these classes are critical for college readiness and academic recognition. Their reduction could lead to students being less competitive college applicants. Therefore, the budget cuts will not only impact students' high school experiences, but their college careers as well.
If you could wrap it up, please.
Yep. My family moved to East Lyme in July 2015, the summer before I started kindergarten, specifically because of the schools. We left a school district that struggled with underfunding and staff shortages, and we came here because East Lyme was known for its excellence in education. You've heard this statement many times this evening. Strong schools draw families in, but strong schools also bring communities together and a shared mission to prepare the next generation of American citizens. Please do not cut.
Thank you. We do have to. Go ahead.
I am Zoe Koropakin. I am a 16-year-old junior at East Lyme High School, and I would like to face the educators that made me who I am today. I saw that the budget would cut 7 of the teachers at East Lyme High School, and I knew that I just had to come to this meeting, and I had to know and tell you how I feel about this. As you guys are not teachers, I'd like to point out 7 of the teachers that you plan to cut, just to put into perspective for you, and those 7 teachers, how they impacted my life. I'd like to start with Mrs. Shara, my creative writing 2 teacher, and how every time I come into my class, I know that I am safe and I am loved, and I know that if I demand the Thin Mints from your desk, I'll get the Thin Mint. If I need help with my poem, I'll get that help from my poem. My English teacher, Miss Buckley, who for the first time in my life made me feel challenged in my English class and made me know that I could do English at that level that I am at today. My science teacher, also Miss Buckley, she has made me realize that I could have a career in marine biology, a career that was never supported for me as a child because I could never have that much of a specialized class for me. My art teacher, Miss Mashad, who has faced so many hardships this year, love her so much. She has supported my artist career and has made me who I am as an artist today. Miss Jenkins, my psych teacher, she has supported me in psych so much. Every time I come into her class, she always greets me with a smile. She always helps me. If I struggle with that test, I know that I will get that help with that test. My teacher, Miss Kapusta, who helps me out in the library, she helps me with my anxiety, as you might see with my shaking. She helps me with my test. She knows that I struggle with that I get scared, anxious. She will be there. She will be there to support me always. And I would like to save my counselor for last, my lovely, lovely counselor, Jacqueline Sullivan, who, if it were not for her, I don't know how I would be standing here today, being here. I'd probably be shaking in my seat, scared, crying. But because of her, I had the courage to come up here, face my anxiety, and tell everyone here how much I love them. And this is just 7 of my teachers, just to name a few. This is including teachers such as my gym teacher, Miss Thompson, my civics and history teacher, Mr. MacGyver, my English teacher, Mr. Ainscoe, who recommended me for Miss Buckley's class, and so many more. Teachers aren't dollar signs. They are people. They support us. They are real. Please keep them in our school system.
Thank you. So that wraps up the public discussion portion. Next on the agenda is board comments. I don't know whether anyone wants to say anything. No? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn? Second, motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Thank you, everyone. I do appreciate